The pinnacle of psychological manipulation. The thief who stole your entire life plays the role of an innocent victim. Daniel Cross is a classic example of narcissistic megalomania. He deprived his fiancée of all her intellectual abilities and then brainwashed her with the illusion that she was not capable of handling pressure. He used the facade of culinary genius to mask his inner emptiness. Arya's decision to live in invisibility for 3 years as a servant. This shows the lingering effects of a form of psychological trauma that paralyzes willpower. Adrian's arrival wasn't simply a salvation, but a catalyst that forced her to confront her phobia, turning the victim into the hunter in a brutal psychological gamble.
So they say revenge is a dish best served cold, right? Well, for Arya Bennett, watching her ex-fiancé snatch her restaurant, her career, her whole identity, that was a full-blown inferno. Fast forward 3 years, and she's basically a ghost in a uniform at some bougie gala, serving snacks to people who've long forgotten her name. Then he shows up. Daniel Cross, cockier than ever and ready to drop a new nuke on her life. But check this out. A new player just entered the server. The man by her side isn't the type to forgive. He's the type to dismantle. The kitchen for this fancy event smelled like expensive herbs and total chaos. Arya Bennett was just going through the motions, building tiny appetizers that cost more than her whole week's paycheck. Some whipped cheese, a fancy jam, a single herb placed just so. It was all a dead, robotic performance. For 2 whole years, the woman couldn't even taste her own food. Suddenly, her boss Marcus pops in, all sweaty and stressed, yelling, "Arya, those apps need to be out there 5 minutes ago." The big boss, Mr. Voss, expects 0 mistakes. Like she wasn't already a robot of perfection. She didn't even look up. Her hands moved with the muscle memory of someone who used to have dreams, who once believed hard work beat dirty money. That was before Daniel, of course. Marcus hesitated. "Hey, about tonight." "I know," she cut him off, her voice totally flat. "It's a big deal. Powerful people don't mess up. That's not what I—" He sighed, giving up. "Whatever, just be careful." She tuned him out. Marcus was always anxious. Her job was just to make food that looked good for Instagram before getting tossed. She grabbed the tray and headed for the elevator. The Karela Hotel's ballroom was an absolute monument to overkill. We're talking crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures, the works. Rich women in car-priced dresses fake laughed while their husbands in custom suits made deals that would ruin someone by morning. Arya had mastered the art of being invisible in these places. She was halfway across the room when she heard it. "Daniel Cross is here." The tray in her hands shook just a tiny bit, messing up one perfect appetizer. No way. They said he was launching his 3rd joint next month. The New York Times once called him a visionary. Yeah, right. That word was like acid in her brain. Arya got a grip and kept moving. She dropped off the tray, turned to go back to the kitchen, and that's when she saw him. Daniel Cross, standing near the entrance, practically glowing with his own success. He was always handsome, but 3 years of winning had made him sharper, harder, more untouchable. The girl next to him looked about 25, all blonde hair and perfect posture. She laughed at something he said, and Arya remembered that exact sound, from back when she was naive enough to believe his promises. The air in the room got thin, fast. She tried to duck into a service hallway, but her body just wouldn't move. She was frozen, watching the guy who destroyed her life breeze past like she wasn't even there, which to him she wasn't. "Miss Bennett." The voice behind her was low and powerful. The kind of voice that doesn't ask for your attention, it takes it. Arya spun around. Adrian Voss was standing 3 feet away holding a glass of scotch he hadn't touched. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with dark hair and intense gray eyes that missed nothing. His suit probably cost more than her old 6-month salary. This was, for all intents and purposes, her boss. The event company was just one of 12 businesses he owned, and she'd only ever seen him 3 times in 2 years. Every single time he stared at her with the same unnerving focus he had right now. "Mr. Boss," she said, trying to sound professional, pretending the world wasn't ending. "Is there a problem with the service?" "No." He took one step closer. "But there's a problem with you." "I'm fine. You're not." His eyes flicked past her, landing right on Daniel. "You two have a history." It wasn't a question, it was a fact. Her throat closed up. "I should get back to the kitchen. You will stay." "Why?" The word ripped out of her, way louder than she meant it to. "So I can watch him celebrate stealing my entire life?" "I don't think so." Adrian's face was a stone mask, but something flickered in his eyes. Maybe pity, maybe a plan. "He didn't just take your restaurant, did he?" A bitter, sharp laugh escaped her. "You did your homework. I'm always prepared." He handed his untouched drink to a passing server. 3 years ago, you were the next big thing, top of your class and engaged to Daniel Cross. You two designed the menu that made Ember famous, the restaurant that built his entire career. Stop! You signed the company over to him as a sign of trust. And 2 weeks before opening night, he dumped you, kept the restaurant, and erased you from the story. I said stop. Adrian just tilted his head. He stole your recipes, your dream, your future, and when you sued, his family's lawyers buried you so deep, no decent restaurant would touch you. So you disappeared into catering, where nobody asks about your past. Arya's hands were clenched into fists. What's the point of this? Because tonight he's planning to humiliate you all over again. The air around them felt like it dropped 10 degrees. What? Adrian nodded toward the other side of the room. See that reporter from Taste magazine? Daniel personally invited her here to watch this, and he made sure she knows you're working as a waitress. Arya's vision started to swim. You're making that up. I don't make things up. I strategize. He pulled out a phone and showed her the screen. It was an email chain. Subject: narrative angle from business partner to service staff. She read the first line and felt all the air get punched out of her chest. Thought you'd appreciate the narrative symmetry. My former fiancé, Arya Bennett, will be circulating with canapes tonight. The rest of the words just blurred together. He's going to make a speech tonight, Adrian said calmly, about how some people are born to lead and others are born to serve. The reporter will eat it up. By tomorrow, your name will be a punchline on every food blog from coast to coast. Arya just stood there, completely broken. 3 years she'd spent crawling out of the wreckage, and he was going to burn it all down again just because he could. Why are you telling me this? She whispered. Adrian was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice had a new edge to it, something almost personal. Because I know what it's like to be erased by someone you trusted, and because I'm offering you another option. What other option? You can leave right now, go home, let him win. He paused. Or you can stay, and you can let me handle the situation. Let me show him what happens when someone finally decides to hit back. You don't know me. I know enough. His gray eyes locked onto hers. I know you spent 6 months creating a signature dish that blended French and Korean styles. I know Daniel passed it off as his own at Ember. I know it won him his first Michelin star. And I know a piece of you dies every day you work in that kitchen. The sheer detail of what he knew was a bigger blow than any memory. What do you want? Arya shot back. Guys like Adrian Voss never do anything for free. Your confidence. He said it so simply. For tonight, that's all. It's never all. It's never just that. A ghost of a smile, maybe respect, touched his face. You're right, it's not. We can talk about the rest later, but right now you need to make a choice. Do you want payback, or are you happy being a ghost? Across the ballroom, Daniel's arrogant laugh echoed. The reporter was leaning in, pen ready. Arya saw the restaurant she'd dreamed of since she was 16. She saw herself signing the papers, trusting the man she loved. Then she saw 3 years of being a nobody, of pretending not to care. And just like that, a fire she'd stamped out for years finally roared to life. What do you want from me? Adrian's smile was ice-cold perfection. Nothing. Just stay with me. And when it happens, don't run. When what happens, you'll know. He offered his arm, a silent command. After a heartbeat of hesitation, Arya took it. As they cut through the party, the entire vibe of the room shifted to orbit them. All eyes were already on Adrian, but now with her, those looks intensified into 1,000 questions. Whispers followed them like ghosts. Isn't that a caterer? What's she doing with Adrian Voss? Are they a thing? Heat flooded Arya's face, but his grip on her arm was an anchor in the brewing chaos. They became the room's main event without even trying. Daniel's eyes zeroed in on them. Arya watched the predictable series of expressions hit his face. Pure shock, a flicker of confusion, and then a predator's cold calculation. He excused himself and stalked toward them with the confidence of a guy who's never been told no. Arya. His smile was a hollow piece of architecture. I barely recognized you. You look... His eyes did a slow, insulting crawl down her plain dress. Well, very much like yourself. The woman she used to be would have shattered from that one simple jab. The ghost of her former self would have apologized for breathing his air. But this new version, hardened by Adrian's vibe, hit him with her own sharp smile. Daniel, still using expensive suits to cover for a lack of personality, I see. A muscle in his jaw jumped. Still bitter. Not bitter, just observant. She could feel Adrian's presence, a solid wall at her back. How's the restaurant? Still cashing in on my recipes. Our work? He sneered, trying to rewrite history. Ember was a team effort. No, I was the genius. You just got good at signing my name on the checks. His neck flushed red as a reporter, sensing drama, drifted over. You signed the deal, Arya. You bailed because you couldn't take the heat. You never had the guts for real pressure, he announced, his voice getting louder for the audience. Some people create and some people manage. You were always better with a cookbook than a balance sheet. Every word was a custom-made dagger aimed at her weakest points. Onlookers pretended to ignore them while soaking up every word. White-hot fury ripped through her. Before she could snap back, Adrian's voice cut through the tension. An interesting take, he said. Tell me, Mr. Cross, does that explain why you keep hiring consultants? A desperate move to replicate a simple creator's talent? Daniel's smile turned into a rigid mask. I have no idea what you're talking about. No. Adrian held up a phone, its screen a bright rectangle of doom in the dim room. These invoices say otherwise. 3 different firms in 2 years. Each one paid to find that magic you seem to have lost. All the color drained from Daniel's face. How did you get those? That's confidential. Nothing stays confidential forever. Adrian's tone was like a surgeon's, dissecting him with devastating facts. I was considering an investment in Ember. My background checks are extremely thorough. The reporter's pen was flying. Daniel's voice dropped to a venomous hiss. You had no right. As a potential investor, Adrian shot back, his eyes cold. I had every right. That smile was a wolf showing its teeth. However, after my review, I've decided to pass. A business built on a stolen legacy has a weak foundation. It's not a matter of if it will collapse, but when. You son of a bitch. It's just good business. The word landed like a death sentence. You are one bad press release away from losing your expansion funding. It would be a real shame if these invoices ended up at a place like Taste Magazine. Think of the headline, "The Celebrity Chef Who Lost His Midas Touch." A dead silence fell around them. Daniel's eyes locked on Arya, and for the first time in 3 years, she saw something other than his usual arrogance. It was fear. This is not over, he hissed under his breath. You are right, Adrian agreed softly. It is not. And then he moved, pulling her in and bringing his mouth down on hers. The kiss wasn't sweet. It was a statement, a public brand of ownership. One hand locked on her back while the other cupped her jaw, claiming her in front of the same high society that had tossed her aside. Her mind went blank, then exploded. She kissed him back, an impulse fueled by shock, fury, and the wild feeling of being championed. When he pulled away, the entire ballroom was frozen in absolute silence. Daniel stood there like a statue of public humiliation. The reporter looked like she'd just won the lottery, but Adrian only had eyes for Arya, looking at her like he'd just acquired a masterpiece. Shall we? He murmured. Arya could only manage a small nod, her voice gone. He led her to the dance floor, and they fell into a waltz as if they'd done it 1,000 times. His hand was a solid warmth at her waist. You kissed me, she whispered, stunned. I did. Why? Because he needed to understand that you are no longer his to break. Adrian's gray eyes held hers. And you needed to remember that you are someone's cause, not their casualty. I never asked you to do that. I know. As they turned, she saw Daniel making a quick exit from the gala. The reporter was already on her phone, breaking the story that would be all over the city by morning. You destroyed him, Arya breathed. No, I exposed him, Adrian corrected, his grip tightening. Destroying him is the next step. The darkness in his voice made her look up. What is that supposed to mean? It means tonight was just the opening argument. If you really want to take back what he stole from you, this was only the beginning. I don't get it. You will. The music swelled and then ended. Adrian released her but kept her hand. My downtown office, 10 a.m. tomorrow. I will show you what happens when you finally fight a real war. And why should I trust you? You shouldn't, he said, then raised her hand to his lips in a gesture that felt more like sealing a pact than a romance. But you will, because you're sick of being afraid, and because the genius chef you're meant to be is still inside, screaming to get out. He let her go. 10 a.m., Arya. And just like that, he melted back into the crowd. She was alone on the dance floor, her heart hammering. The party churned on, but she was now the center of the hurricane. She touched her lips. They were still tingling from his kiss. Her phone buzzed. A text from an old friend, Marcus. What the hell was that? You're the only thing anyone is talking about. It buzzed again, an unknown number. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. An address was attached. A V. The old Arya would have run, tried to forget the night, and pegged Adrian Voss as a danger bigger than Daniel, but 3 years of being a ghost had hollowed her out. Tonight, for the first time since Daniel wrecked her life, she felt everything light up. Arya looked out at the city. Somewhere out there, Daniel was in a full-blown panic. Good. She hoped he was feeling the cold grip of terror. She hoped he wouldn't sleep a wink. She hoped he was getting a taste of being torn apart in public. Her phone lit up again, a text from Adrian. You were sublime. Get some rest. Tomorrow, the real work begins. A sound that was almost a laugh escaped her. She deleted his text and headed for the service exit. Before the doors opened, she took one last look at the ballroom, that shiny machine that had chewed her up. And she smiled, a real smile, knowing that tomorrow she would walk straight into the lion's den. Whatever was waiting in that office, manipulation, danger, or righteous payback, was better than the quiet, slow rot she'd been living in. For 3 years, she'd been invisible. Now it was time to become a force. The elevator doors shut, and Arya Bennett began her descent. Her future now tied to a man whose kiss was a declaration of war. She should have been terrified. Instead, all she felt was a sharp hunger for the morning. The apartment was small and generic, 1,200 square feet of failure, a monument to everything she'd lost. Her keys made a cheap noise on the counter. Her phone buzzed nonstop. Texts were pouring in from people who vanished the second Daniel's lawyers showed up. Now they wanted the gossip. They wanted the drama. OMG, you're with Adrian Voss? The video is everywhere. You were epic. Please tell me you're finally going to ruin that monster. So, a video was already out. Arya ignored them all and opened her email. The first headline sent a jolt through her stomach. Interview request? Taste magazine. She deleted it without reading. The second was a legal notice from Cross Enterprises. Her hand is literally shaking as she opens the legal threat. The message from Daniel Cross is simple: shut up or get sued into the ground. But instead of crying, she just scoffs. He's terrified. She then checks the real email from Adrian Voss, who sent her an address, the 60-story Voss Tower. Oh, she's not hungry for food. She's starving for vengeance. After years of being played, our girl finally has a clear target. Just then, a random number calls, and some instinct tells her to pick up. A robot voice introduces herself as Catherine Wu, lawyer for Daniel Cross. Arya cuts right to the chase. So, you're here to scare me into silence with bankruptcy threats, right? The line goes dead quiet. The lawyer tries to play nice about her association with him. Association? Arya snaps. This dude didn't just partner with her. He tricked her into signing away her entire life's work after they got engaged. She tells the lawyer to send a message back to Daniel. Her silent era is officially over. And Adrian Voss? He doesn't make threats, he makes moves. Tonight was just the warm-up act. She hangs up, shaking like a leaf. Adrenaline and anxiety are a brutal mix. Her phone rings again, but she sends it to voicemail. It's time. For 3 years, she's had a box sealed up, and now she tears it open. Inside are notebooks filled with her original recipes and concepts, the entire blueprint for Ember. This was the proof of how badly Daniel had ripped her off, the very soul of the restaurant he stole. That one signature dish that won him a Michelin star? It took her 6 months to create. Daniel lied and said he got the idea on a trip to Seoul, a city he's never even been to. Another famous dessert was her grandmother's recipe, which he claimed came from his own mom, a woman who can't even boil water. It was lie after lie. Reading this, her rage turns into a cold, hard plan. If Adrian Voss is handing her a gun, she's going to fire it. She'll use his money, his connections, his terrifying calm. But make no mistake, this war is hers and hers alone. Daniel Cross is about to learn what it feels like to have everything stolen by someone pulling strings from the shadows. Sleep is a joke. At 4 a.m, she starts digging into Adrian Voss. The guy is a ghost online, all corporate wins and charity galas. His empire is massive, from real estate to a shady security firm. But there are huge gaps in his history, years where he just disappears. One reporter called his operation the Invisible Empire, detailing how he uses shell companies to crush his enemies, both in business and politics. The article ended with a stark warning. Adrian Voss doesn't just buy companies, he buys people. And once he owns you, there's no escape. Arya closes the laptop. She should be freaking out, but instead she feels a sick sense of relief. Daniel wanted to play dirty, so she just hired the final boss. At 9:15 a.m., she checks the mirror. Dark circles, messy hair, still in last night's dress. She looks like a wreck. Perfect. Let Adrian see exactly what Daniel's victory cost her. Let him understand the stakes. She takes the subway to his building, a 60-floor monster of black glass. The lobby is cold and patrolled by guys who look like ex-Secret Service. "Arya Bennett," she says. 10 o'clock with Adrian Voss. The receptionist gives her a look, like she knows something, and sends her up. The elevator ride feels like an ascent into another world. By the 60th floor, her nerves are shot. The doors open to a penthouse, not an office. Adrian is standing there, a silhouette against the city. "You came," he says without turning. "Did you think I'd run?" He faces her, now in a killer charcoal suit. "Most people do," he replies, "once they realize what I am." "And what's that?" A tiny smirk plays on his lips. "A weapon or a threat? Depends on which side of me you're on." "So which one am I?" she asks. "Both," he says, handing her a folder. "Read this, then decide if you still need my help." She opens it. Page 1 is Ember's financials. The place is making insane money. Page 2 shows Daniel is using the restaurant's reputation to fund a new secret project. Page 3 has all her recipes, legally registered in his name. "How did you get this?" she asks. He just says, "I do my homework." "Keep reading," he tells her. Page 4 lists Daniel's massive debts. His new project is a disaster. Page 5 is a timeline of every single time he publicly took credit for her work. But the last page is the gut punch. He's been trying to sell Ember for 6 months. When it's done, he gets away with everything. Arya feels the world spin. He's selling to a mega corporation that will turn her restaurant into a generic chain. Daniel is set to make a cool $40 million. Her recipes, her soul, will end up being served in cheap airport lounges. The folder slips from her hands. "Why are you showing me this?" He looks at her, dead serious. "Because I can stop it. I can buy Ember first. I can put you back in that kitchen and tell the world who really built it." "And why would you do that?" "Because," he says, "I need something from you." The other shoe drops. "What?" Adrian turns to the window. 3 years ago, my brother was murdered. So get this. The official report called it a simple car accident. Adrian's voice was dead inside when he said it, but he was like, "Nah, I don't buy that." So he hired his own crew, spent 2 whole years digging, and found the dirt. He turns to her and drops the bomb. "It wasn't an accident. Somebody sliced the brake lines." And here's the kicker. The guy who ordered the hit is one of the same suits funding Daniel's new venture. Arya just freezes, completely shook. You think Daniel was in on it? The guy's a scumbag, not a murderer. But Adrian shuts that down cold. No, but his new business partners, they don't have his weak stomach, and their goals are way, way bigger. This whole network of companies, including Ember, is a time bomb set to explode and ruin everyone involved. Adrian explains he needs an inside agent, someone who looks completely harmless. This person has to know everything about Daniel, how he thinks, how he operates. He pauses, adding that it would be perfect if this person also had a massive grudge against him. And that's when it clicks for Arya, a wave of cold realization. He wants her to be his spy. The cover story is a fancy consulting gig at Voss Industries, helping with the Ember buyout. Her real job? To snatch up intel, documents, any proof she can find. And the ultimatum? If she says no, his plan still goes ahead. It'll just be slower and uglier, but Daniel is going down either way. He stared her down, making it clear this wasn't a negotiation. The choice is simple. Do you want to be a warrior for justice, or just an avatar of revenge? She's like, "What's the difference?" He tells her, vengeance is emotional, it's a wildfire. Justice is cold, calculated, and absolute. Adrian steps closer, making her tilt her head up just to look him in the eye. Revenge is just taking Ember back from Daniel. Justice is tearing down his entire criminal empire so he can never hurt anyone ever again. Arya's heart was hammering against her ribs. If I do this, what's my prize? He promises her a total comeback. Your name, your restaurant, your entire life. He leans in. And the sweet, sweet satisfaction of watching Daniel Cross get publicly destroyed. The offer was insane, happening way too fast. There's one more thing, Adrian said, his voice dropping low. There's some intel you need before you say yes. What is it? He replies. The car crash that killed your parents 5 years ago. Her entire universe just slammed to a halt. Don't, she whispered, her voice cracking. We are not talking about that. He ignored her. It wasn't an accident. The ground might as well have disappeared beneath her feet. Arya couldn't breathe. Her mind was shattering. Her parents, the crash, the official story that blamed it on a mistake, the endless grief that choked her for months. You're lying. Adrian's face softened with something that looked like pity. I wish I were. Same crew, same playbook. Your parents were investigating some shady finances at their restaurant. They found proof, said they were going public, and were dead in 3 days. She just whispered, no. I have the original case files, the forensics they buried, and the witness statements they were forced to give. Every single piece of evidence screams the same thing. He held her gaze, not flinching. Your parents were assassinated, and their killers are the same financiers bankrolling Daniel's new operation. Arya's strength completely vanished. She would have crumpled to the floor, but Adrian grabbed her arms, his grip firm, his voice a quiet storm. I can't bring them back, Arya, but I can make damn sure their murderers are brought to justice. I can give their deaths meaning. This is why I need you. Not just to ruin Daniel, but to finish the fight your parents started. She looked up at this man she had met only once before tonight. This absolute stranger had just systematically demolished her reality in minutes. How long have you known? For 6 months after my intel guys confirmed the connection. And you're only telling me now? I needed undeniable proof, evidence that would hold up in any court, and I needed you to be ready to listen. His grip tightened just a little. Are you? Was she ready to accept her parents were murdered? To realize her whole life was a lie built on a cover-up? To declare war on people who make problems disappear? No, but sitting on the sidelines was no longer an option. What's my first move? A chilling, perfect, and terrifying smile spread across Adrian's face. First, you sign a contract as a senior culinary consultant for my company. Daniel's gonna choke when he sees the salary. The deal also includes a lawyer on retainer. You're gonna need that lawyer for the lawsuit he's guaranteed to file. Second, you help me with my hostile takeover of Ember. Our offer is gonna blow the Donovan groups out of the water. Once we win, you're walking back into that kitchen as the executive chef and a partner, not some employee. He'll never agree to sell to you, she said. Adrian's face was pure confidence. He won't have a choice by the time we're done. Arya pulled away from him, walking over to the massive window to look down at the city lights. Down there, Daniel was probably already scheming, calling his lawyers and money men to try and clean up last night's mess. And the men who killed her parents were down there too, powerful, untouchable, and free. She saw her mother's smile in her mind, heard her father's laugh, and remembered the dreams they had for their little restaurant. She thought about 3 years of just letting it go, of letting Daniel win because fighting back seemed impossible. She thought about last night's kiss, the way Adrian looked at her like she was something valuable, something worth fighting for. Her mind was made up. I want all the terms in writing, the money, the partnership, all of it. Of course. And I want you to promise me that when this is over, Daniel isn't just broke. I want him to understand down to his bones what he took from me and the price he paid for it. I give you my word. She turned, meeting his intense stare. Then I'm in. Adrian's smile got wider. Excellent. We've got a meeting with Daniel's backers tomorrow morning where you will explain to them how their entire investment is built on a lie. They won't believe me. Oh, they will when I arm you with documented proof of every stolen recipe, every cooked book, every corner he cut, and every person he screwed over. Adrian went to his desk and pulled out another thick folder. You're not walking into that room weak, Arya. You're walking in there with a full-blown arsenal. She took the folder. It felt heavy with secrets. How long have you been planning this? Since the night I first saw you in my restaurant, looking like a ghost who had forgotten how to live. His gray eyes locked with hers. I know that look. I saw it staring back at me in the mirror for 2 years after my brother was killed, and I swore that if I ever got the chance, I'd teach you how to fight again. A wall inside Arya finally came crashing down. You know nothing about me. I know what matters. He stepped closer. I know your talent is bigger than you let yourself believe. I know you have more strength than you give yourself credit for, and I know that together, we are going to burn every single one of their lies to the ground. Why? Why? What? Why do you care? Why are you helping me? She waved her hand around the insane office at the stacks of documents, at this impossible promise of payback. Why are you doing any of this? Adrian was silent for a long, heavy moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was raw, different, because some men deserve to be ruined, and some people deserve a front row seat to watch it happen. He turned away the moment broken. Go home, read the file. We hit the investors tomorrow at 8 a.m. You need to dress like you're worth $40 million, because soon you will be. Arya clutched the file to her chest. Adrian. Yes. The kiss last night. Was that just part of the plan? He looked at her, really looked at her, and for a split second she saw the man behind the machine, something raw and real. No, he said, his voice soft. That was improvisation. Was it real? A sharp, knowing smile touched his lips. Does the answer to that question change anything right now? Yes. Then ask me again when this is over, when you're running your own restaurant with your name over the door and Daniel Cross is nothing but a ghost. He paused. Ask me then if it was real. Her throat felt tight. She just gave him a single nod and walked out. The slow ride down the elevator felt like a rebirth, like she was shedding her old skin and growing a new one that didn't run but fought. Her phone buzzed. A text from a blocked number. I know your plan. Stop now, or your sister pays the price. The fire in Arya's veins turned to solid ice. Her sister Maya, 23 and living a normal life in Seattle, a graphic designer who knew nothing about this nightmare. Her call went straight to voicemail. She tried again. Voicemail. Her hand was shaking as she typed, Maya, call me now. The elevator doors opened to the lobby. Arya sprinted. Outside, the noise of the city hit her like a punch. Too bright. Too loud. She couldn't breathe. A second text came through. Check your email. You have 24 hours. The email contained a single photograph. Maya was strapped to a chair in some massive warehouse, wide awake and pure terror in her eyes. The text they sent was the final word. Cancel tomorrow's meeting or she's gone. Your call. Arya's world went fuzzy. She dialed Adrian, who answered on the first ring. They have my sister, I know. A car is coming for you. Do not move. How did you know? I planned for this. Stay put. The line went dead. 3 minutes later, a black sedan slid up to the curb, a faceless driver holding the door. She got in. They skipped the main entrance to the Voss building, heading straight down into a private underground garage and up a service lift. Adrian was there. Give me the full report, he commanded. She showed him the text and the photo of her sister. His face was a blank slate, but his eyes were like chips of ice. Their move came sooner than my projections indicated. You knew this would happen? I knew they'd retaliate. The exact timing was the only unknown. He pulled out his phone and made a call. I need the Seattle unit activated now. Feed them the location intel. He listened for a moment. Perfect. Move in. He hung up. What is going on? I have assets in Seattle. They're on their way to get her. How is that even possible? Because I've been tracking Daniel's financiers for 2 years. I know who they are, where they operate, and which underworld thugs they use for jobs like this. His eyes locked onto hers. Maya will be saved, but now we have a major decision to make. He laid out the 2 paths. They could cave, letting their enemies score a win, or they could go on the attack and force their hand. He let the silence hang there to show how serious this was. Arya's first thought was that they would just kill her sister. But Adrian, playing 5D chess, shot that down. Her death, he explained, makes their only leverage disappear, turning their one valuable card into trash. Throwing away their only negotiation tool would be a rookie mistake. He knew these people inside and out, their entire playbook. He stepped closer. "Trust my plan, Arya. Let me run this. She's my sister." He acknowledged that, not as a problem, but as the exact reason to unleash hell. His phone lit up, showing a live video feed, proof his plan was already in motion. Maya was on the screen, still in the warehouse, but now surrounded by a tactical team that moved with deadly efficiency. Arya watched them cut her sister's ties before hustling her out of the building. The entire extraction was over in under 90 seconds. The game plan was brutally simple: non-stop surveillance and pre-positioned teams. The egomaniac, Adrian, confirmed it. "She's safe." He added she was being moved to a secure location. As for her kidnappers, they were about to find out exactly what happens when you mess with his interests. Arya's protest about being an object was met with the predator's smile. He twisted it, reframing ownership as the ultimate protection, a golden cage where anyone who tried to touch her answered directly to him. A second call came through. He took the call, listened, and gave a single order: "Proceed." Hanging up, he turned back to Arya. "It's over." The kidnappers were neutralized, picked up by local cops on charges so airtight they were never getting out. He figured they were pros who'd keep their mouths shut, but now they were off the board for good. "So quickly!" The shock hit Arya so hard she had to sit down, her tough exterior crumbling. "This is madness," he corrected her. "This is a war." He got down in front of her, making his point impossible to ignore. He explained how their enemies turn love into a weapon, creating the very situation where you need his kind of insane protection. Her choices were a perfectly designed trap: his control or a life on the run. She chose to stick with their original plan, a pure act of defiance against the fear tactics. A hint of approval flashed across his face. "They need to know I'm not afraid." She needed her payback to be a statement. You could see the pride in his eyes. "Excellent. We will give them a war they won't forget." He offered her his hand, a clear move to take control. He then told her where she'd be staying tonight, framing it as a security measure that wasn't up for discussion. Seeing her sister again was a privilege she had to earn. "You will see her after she is secure." He declared his way of operating was superior to Daniel's. She took his hand. He used her hand to pull her to her feet. She whispered her thanks. His reply was basically a threat. "Savior, thanks!" His grip tightened, adding force to his words. "Tomorrow, we take them apart." He laid out the coming storm. "I understand." "Do you?" His eyes did a quick, brutal scan of her psyche. He spelled out the multi-level attack coming their way. Legal and very, very illegal. "It doesn't matter." It was the exact answer he expected from someone running on pure trauma. He saw her complete lack of a self-preservation instinct. She pulled her hand away and listed her reasons: her parents' murder, her sister's kidnapping, her stolen legacy. "I am past caring what becomes of me." He smiled, a sharp, unsettling look of approval. With that, he officially brought her into his world. "Welcome to the war, Arya Bennett. We will make them regret everything." He led her to a high-security suite. In this fancy prison overlooking the city, she felt something that might have been hope. The feeling was a dangerous illusion, a twisted side effect of her trauma. Her mind was made up. She would go to the meeting. She would expose Daniel's scam and the truth about her parents' murder. She was ready for the fallout. Her fate now tied to Adrian Voss, a man defined by a pathological need to never lose. The guest suite, with its massive windows, made her feel dizzy, like she was floating high above the city streets. All the luxury was just background noise. Her only focus was calling her sister, Maya. After 5 rings, her sister's voice, thin and shaky from the ordeal, finally answered. Arya. The relief that hit her was so intense it nearly buckled her knees. Are you hurt? Her sister said she was okay, though she sounded totally lost. Maya's voice cracked as she talked about armed men just showing up inside her apartment. Her sister said they were holding real guns before a second team stormed in, turning everything into a terrifying mess. It was like something from a movie. A massive wave of guilt washed over Arya. Why are you apologizing? Maya's questions got sharper, connecting the whole violent mess directly to Daniel. Arya's answer was cagey. It is a complicated situation. Her sister demanded answers, reminding her of the absolute terror she just went through. She was right. Arya felt sick to her stomach for dragging her sister into this war. She promised her she was safe now, saying she trusted the people protecting her. Her sister called her out on that trust, especially her faith in what she called a personal military. I lack any other option. A heavy silence filled the call. Her sister's voice got softer. Are you in danger? No, maybe, I am not sure. A wild, broken laugh escaped Arya. She tried to justify her choices as facing down monsters, with people who snatch graphic designers to show they are tough. Yes, God, Arya. Her sister let out a long, shaky breath. What have you gotten involved in? Something I should have handled 3 years ago. After a moment, her sister asked the one question that really mattered, the one about their parents. A shot of pure ice went through Arya. What makes you ask that? Her sister explained her logic, saying Arya's voice had the same empty sound it did after their parents died. She said Arya was barely keeping herself together. Then she dropped the bombshell. The leader of the rescue team had used their parents' names as a code to get her to cooperate. Adrian had used their memory as a tool. The truth finally came out. Their accident was no accident. The words just hung there in the air. What? They were murdered. She connected the hit to the same group that had just grabbed Maya. Her sister's breathing hitched. You are not joking. I wish I were. She admitted she'd only known for about 12 hours. And you are going after them by yourself? Not by myself. I have support. The man with the private military. His name is Adrian Voss. A hysterical laugh burst from her sister Maya. My sister is partnering with the billionaire vigilante to avenge our parents' assassination. Arya had to admit how completely nuts the story was. I realize it sounds mad. It sounds like a terrible film, but I trust you. Maya's voice got stronger, her faith grounded in knowing her sister's character. Arya's own composure was starting to crack. I am so sorry. Her sister cut her off, refusing to let her take the blame. I am safe now, so tell me what support you require from me. I require you to remain exactly where you are. Arya basically begged her sister to chill out with Adrian's security team. We're talking days, maybe even weeks of lockdown. But her sister was not about to live her life in some panic room. Maya's voice went ice cold with the new mission. You finish this, Arya, whatever it takes. She made her sister swear a blood oath to make them regret everything. I will swear it. I swear. They chatted about random stuff for a minute, trying to pretend their world wasn't exploding. The second the call ended, Arya let the facade drop and the emotional hurricane hit full force. The sheer gravity of the situation hit her like a physical blow. Grief she'd buried for 5 years erupted and mixed with a deadly, focused rage. Her parents weren't some random tragedy. They were a hit. The whole story she told herself about an accident just vanished, revealing the stone-cold truth of a planned execution. The people behind this literally put her parents on a kill list. The anger that followed was clean, sharp, and it sharpened her focus for the meeting into a weapon. She was about to blow their world apart, and if they dared to threaten her, they'd find out what happens when you corner someone who has already lost it all. A sharp knock at the door ripped her out of her thoughts. It was Adrian, looking drained in that way only people who manage human disasters for a living can. Maya is secure, he said, explaining she was moved to a safe house. She's staying put until this is over. Thank you. He waved it off, acting like it was his screw-up in the first place. I should have known they'd make a play for her. How could you have possibly known that? Because, he said flatly, it's the exact move I would have made. He was basically admitting his enemies thought just like him. Family is always the weakest link. That's a pretty bleak way to see the world. It's the right way. He looked at her like a lab specimen, checking her mental state. You need to rest. He warned her the next day was going to be a total mind bender. Sleep isn't happening for me. So he gave her a new task. Then memorize the files. He told her to learn every single detail to make her case bulletproof. I will be. He wasn't convinced, pointing out that wanting revenge and being able to get it are two different things. You're about to walk in there and nuke Daniel's entire reality. Then he laid out the fallout, the media circus, the public humiliation. Are you really ready for all that? Yes. And everything that comes next? She stood up and met his gaze. No hesitation at all. Her answer was razor sharp, like someone trained for head games. Adrian's face flickered. He totally recognized the signs of major trauma. Fine, be ready, we're wheels up at 7. As he was about to bounce, Arya's voice cut him off, demanding to know his real stake in this game. The silence was heavy. Then he confessed something huge. 3 years ago, I saw you. You were so shattered you'd forgotten who you were. It was a kind of brokenness I knew all too well. Like looking in a mirror after my brother was killed. He didn't even blink. I couldn't do a damn thing to change what happened to my brother. Maybe I can change what happens to you. This calculated confession was way more powerful than any threat. I'm not some project for you to find peace. I get it. You're a strategic asset, and tomorrow you're getting your armor back. And then he was gone. In the silence, Arya felt something inside her shift. A cold, hungry predator woke up, made for this exact moment. The person known as Arya Bennett was officially offline. She dove into the files Adrian gave her, soaking up every lie Daniel built his fake empire on. By sunrise, she was a loaded weapon. The boardroom was a fishbowl of glass and steel, designed so no one could hide. 8 suits were sitting at a table that cost more than a house. At the head was Daniel, looking like a king in his expensive suit. He had zero idea they were coming. Adrian walked in first, with Arya right behind him like a storm cloud. Her suit, bought with the kind of speed only stupid money can buy, was perfect. It was dark gray armor made to demand respect. The blood drained right out of Daniel's face when he saw her. What the hell is she doing here? Ms. Bennett is a consultant, Adrian answered, cool as anything as he sat down. I figured we should bring in someone who actually knows food for this talk. This is a private meeting I put together. Adrian's smile was all teeth. When you're asking for $40 million, I decide who's in the room. Sit down, Daniel. Using his first name like that made a muscle in Daniel's jaw jump, but he sat. The investors watched the whole power play like it was a TV show. Gentlemen, Adrian began, tapping a tablet. Thanks for your time. I want to talk about the Ember deal before you close with Donovan. We have a solid commitment to Donovan, said some dude named Harrison Wu. Adrian's file on this guy screamed ex-politician with a massive gambling problem. A commitment isn't a signed contract, and my offer is $10 million higher than theirs. That got their attention. Daniel leaned in. You can't be serious. I am always serious about business, Daniel. You, of all people, should know that. Adrian threw an image onto the big screen. But before we talk cash, we've got some major foundational problems with Ember. What problems? Asked a board member, Victoria Chen, a woman known for being a total shark. Intellectual property problems, he said, specifically about where the signature menu really came from. Under the table, Daniel's hands balled into fists. This is ridiculous. Is it? Adrian nodded to Arya. Ms. Bennett, if you would. It was showtime. Arya stood up. Her hands were rock steady. Her voice was clear and sharp. 3 years ago, I created and perfected the entire menu for Ember. Every single recipe, every method, every flavor profile. Daniel and I were engaged back then, supposedly building a future together. That's ancient history, Daniel snapped, his voice cracking. We were partners. It was a team effort. Not true, Arya said, her eyes scanning the investors. I have the original dated notebooks and digital messages that prove I created every dish, and I'm ready to show you all of it. She held up a tablet prepped by Adrian's team, displaying a perfect image of her handwritten notes. This is the recipe for the Korean short rib that got Ember its Michelin star, made in April of 2019, 6 months before the restaurant even opened. My notes and measurements are right there. The investors leaned in, and this is a video of Daniel on opening night, claiming the dish came from a trip to Seoul, a city his passport proves he's never visited. Red started creeping up his neck. You can't. Here's the miso caramel panna cotta from my grandmother's recipe. Daniel told a magazine his mother taught him that. His mother died when he was 6. Arya was just taking his life apart, one lie at a time. The room was dead silent. Every single dish that makes Ember famous came from my brain and my work. When Daniel broke off our engagement 2 weeks before opening, he kept all of it. He filed copyrights for my recipes under his name while I was dealing with a complete mental collapse. These are serious accusations, Victoria Chen noted, her voice like glass. Can you prove he faked the copyright? I've got something better. I've got the full documented timeline of development. I also have ex-staff ready to swear I was the one and only creator. She stared Daniel down as his tough guy act crumbled into pure panic. I trusted you with the business because I loved you. The love I had for you was the crowbar you used to steal everything I built. It's not that simple. It is exactly that simple. Arya's voice turned into pure steel. You hijacked my life's work, put your name on it, and built a phony empire on top of it while I was working service jobs to pay my rent. Harrison Wu cleared his throat. Mr. Cross is what she's saying true. We were partners. It was a joint project. Then show them your notebooks, Arya shot back. Show them your development logs, your proof of experimentation. Daniel's silence was a confession. You can't because there aren't any. You never created anything. You just got really good at pretending my work was yours. Victoria Chen leveled her eyes at Adrian. You've backed up every last claim. To the letter. I've got a forensic workup of the journals, sworn testimony from food industry titans, and the original corporate docs that name Ms. Bennett as the sole creator. He slid another file across the table. I've also got receipts proving Mr. Cross hired 3 different menu consultants in the last 2 years, all because he couldn't whip up anything that hit Ms. Bennett's level of genius. Daniel shot out of his chair. This is a setup. I'm calling my lawyer. Sit down. Adrian's voice cut like a scalpel. Or I leak the rest of the file. What rest? The creative accounting. The investor cash you've been siphoning off. The expansion jobs that are 3 months behind and a cool $2 million in the red. Adrian's smile was all business, no pleasure. Did you honestly think I'd drop a $40 million offer without running a deep background check? Daniel just folded into his seat, looking totally crushed. Harrison Wu and the suits just stared at each other grimly. Mr. Voss, what's your play exactly? It's straightforward. I take over Ember. Ms. Bennett gets named executive chef and becomes a full partner. Mr. Cross gets a payout at fair market value for his manager role, a number way under $4 million once you factor in the fraud. And he signs a rock-solid NDA giving up all rights to her creations. That is nuts, Daniel seethed. I built that place. You managed it, Arya cut in, her voice low but unbreakable. There's a big difference. You're a wizard with business, Daniel, with marketing and with mind games. But you are not a creative. You never have been. The weight of her words hung in the air, absolute. If your story is true, that Mr. Cross orchestrated this whole scam, why did you sit on it for 3 years? His family's legal army drowned me in lawsuits I had 0 chance of fighting. I was a wreck, flat broke, and totally on my own. Arya's voice was a monotone of pure devastation. But I'm not on my own anymore, and I will not let him do this again. She locked her eyes on Daniel. Your little move at the gala was designed to erase me, to make me a ghost. It just reminded me why I started creating in the first place. For the love of the game, not for a paycheck or applause. How sentimental! Daniel spat, his voice dripping with acid. And how completely pointless. Their loyalty, you get it, isn't some chip you can cash in. As Harrison Wu stepped in, it was obvious a private chat was needed. Mr. Voss, Ms. Bennett, we need the room. Adrian gave a smooth nod. By all means, the floor is yours. He and Arya stepped into the dead silence of the hall. A perfect takedown was Adrian's verdict. As the adrenaline from the fight faded, a tremor started in Arya's hands. I can't tell if you're for real. 100%. Your performance was a masterclass in control, just what the script required. His eyes held a look that could kill. Perfect. Because fear is gasoline, it fuels unforced mistakes. Adrian glanced at his watch. They'll need 20 minutes, 30 at the absolute outside. They're going to fold. Daniel's backstabbing makes him a massive weak spot. Your confidence is off the charts. It's been earned. This whole operation was kicked off 6 months ago. He gave her a hard look. What's your headspace right now? Arya did a quick mental check. Utter terror, a feeling of freedom, pure rage, and the first spark of power, the perfect psychological mix then. A notification on his phone broke the spell. You'll have to excuse me. He moved away, his voice dropping to a quiet murmur. Arya braced herself against the wall. She'd just ripped Daniel's empire apart, taking back her legacy. But the win felt hollow. It didn't feel like an end, but just the beginning. She knew a basic fact, one she'd grasped since Adrian first sketched out the battlefield. His enemies weren't the type to just give up. Retaliation was guaranteed. Adrian returned, his face a perfect mask of neutrality. There's a new piece on the board. Spell it out. The investors hired some dangerous new muscle, a guy with a psychotic hatred for losing. His name? Marcus Vance, of the Donovan Group. My intel also confirms he set up the accident that killed your parents. The very walls of the hallway seemed to bend around her. Explain. Your parents were digging into some sketchy bookkeeping at a club they were running, which we now know was a Donovan front company. They stumbled onto proof of his money laundering. They became a direct threat, and 3 days later, they were taken out. A steel clamp squeezed her chest, choking off her air. You knew about this? It was a solid theory, but I had no hard proof until this morning's intel dump. Adrian's tone was clinically detached. Marcus Vance has used places like that to wash his cash for years. Ember was his next target, so he was the real force behind Daniel and your reason for getting involved. Correct. What's our next move? Adrian's phone buzzed. He read the text, his expression hardening into pure ice. Copy that. Begin containment protocol. He ended the call and turned back to Arya. We are now shifting to phase 2, making sure Marcus Vance understands that making you a target was a career-ending mistake. Before she could absorb that, the conference room door swung open. Harrison Wu came out. Mr. Voss, we're willing to make a deal, but we need guarantees. They'll be given, but first, there are some hard truths you need to face. Adrian's smile was charming, but it had the chill of a blade. The man you've just brought on board, Marcus Vance, is the target of a federal money laundering probe. I have the files, the testimony, all of it. The color drained from Wu's face. It is a fact. Continuing your deal with Donovan makes you accessories to the crime. Adrian's smile never faltered. My offer, on the other hand, comes with complete immunity from prosecution. My relationship with the federal agencies is exceptionally strong. The threat wasn't even hidden, it was absolute. Side with me, or you will be erased. A small tremor gave away Wu's anxiety. I need to talk with my partners. I'd recommend it. But your time is running out. This deal is off the table at noon. Wu ducked back into the room. Arya stared at Adrian. You're strong-arming them. I am providing them with the necessary information to make a sound strategic choice. Whatever they do next is on them. That's blackmail. That is the name of the game in this business. He glanced at his watch again. They will fold. It's the only logical play. If not, the file gets sent and they go down with Vance. But these are businessmen. They're smart enough to see a dead end when they're in one. 10 minutes crawled by, then the investors filed out. Victoria Chen acted as their mouthpiece. We accept your terms, Mr. Voss. Subject to the usual checks and final contracts. Fantastic. My legal team will have the documents drawn up by the end of the day. And what about Mr. Cross? Harrison Wu asked. He will be stripped of his controlling interest, left with a token share for his early work. The rest will be swallowed up by Voss Industries and Ms. Bennett. Daniel showed up at the doorway, his face a mask of total devastation. You are not allowed to do this. The move has been made, and is being made. Adrian's voice was final. You have two options here, Daniel. You can accept this deal, or you can reject it and fight federal fraud charges. The ball is in your court. Daniel's hands clenched into tight, powerless fists. This is not over. It is. Arya stepped toward him. You don't get to win this time. You don't get to torch my world and just walk away. I am taking back my entire life's work, and you are completely helpless to stop me. Daniel's stare was pure hatred. You think you've won? You think Adrian Voss is your savior? He doesn't have partners. He has assets. The minute you stop being useful, you'll be thrown out, just like I threw you out. The shot landed, but Arya just smiled. Maybe. But he at least is upfront about the kind of monster he is. You faked loving me while you were methodically tearing my life to shreds, so yeah, his type of monster is way better than yours. Daniel's jaw locked, but he had no comeback. He just turned and walked away. As Arya watched him retreat, a huge weight felt like it was lifting from her spirit. It was a messy mix of relief, victory, and the sharp taste of justice. Adrian's hand on her arm brought her back. We need to be gone before Vance's network figures out the board has been flipped. Where are we going? To a secure site. From that base, we will launch our countermove, the complete and total demolition of Marcus Vance. They slipped out a back corridor where a car was waiting. As it melted into the city traffic, Arya just looked out at the skyline. She deadpans that she's supposed to feel great. She got Ember back and Daniel is toast, but nope, still feels empty inside. Adrian calls it a classic case of revenge hollow. He schools her that payback isn't therapy. It's just slapping a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. So what's the point? The point is you're not the victim anymore. You're not running. You're running the whole show now. He locks eyes with her. The point is tomorrow you walk into your kingdom and build something way better than what Daniel wrecked. But Vance, he's a whole other level of messed up. A final boss type of problem that needs to be deleted for good. DS-11. You want to know what terminal means? It means Maya got yoinked to a secret safe house. It means you're glued to my security detail until this is over. Terminal enough that his phone starts buzzing like crazy. He answers, and his whole vibe shifts to DEFCON 1. When? How many of them? He gets the intel, his jaw clenching hard. He barks out orders. Lock down the entire building. Full containment right now. I'm on my way. He hangs up and snaps at the driver. The Voss Tower. Step on it. Arya's like, what is going on? And he drops the bomb. Marcus Vance just made his big move. He sent a hit squad to my office to negotiate. Tactical? Yeah, tactical means this just became a hostage situation because Marcus is totally trapped. Let's break down the word lethal. It's so bad that Maya had to be ghosted to some secret spot. It's so dangerous that Adrian basically becomes her personal bodyguard. The threat level is so high, it literally calls him on the phone, and you can see the tension just jack up his entire body. When? How many? Quick-fire questions, the answers making his jaw tense up. An order gets spit out. Seal it. Lock it all down. I'm coming, he tells the driver. Voss Tower now. Like his voice is a weapon. Arya asks what's up and gets the ice-cold truth. Marcus Vance just played his hand. sending a tactical crew to Adrian's office for a little chat. And tactical, Adrian explains with zero warmth, means this is a hostage crisis now. It's the last move a guy with no moves left makes. And cornered animals always make stupid mistakes. The car peels out. Arya's heart is hammering against her ribs. What's the plan? Adrian says they're walking right into the hornet's nest, just like Vance wants. A wicked little smirk plays on his lips. And that's when their own trap is gonna snap shut. The Voss Tower looms ahead, a familiar sight now looking totally corrupted by the scumbags inside. The glass palace that screamed power yesterday now just looks fragile. A perfect mirror for how wrecked Arya feels. Adrian is on his phone the entire ride, spitting out short, coded, and deadly serious commands. The second they hit the underground garage, he ends the call and pins her with a look. Get this straight. You are not going upstairs. Arya fires back. The hell I'm not. They're here because of me, because of us. I'm not hiding in some basement while you walk into that mess. His jaw was set in stone. This isn't about being brave, he tells her. It's about strategy. Marcus wants to get in my head, make me emotional. You up there, you become his #1 bargaining chip. And me down here is useless, he counters. You're safe. That's not useless. The car glides to a stop. Adrian's security team is already there. 6 dudes in dark suits looking like statues carved from pure discipline. The main guy steps up to give the report. Sir, we've got eyes on 4 armed hostiles. They're holding 3 of our people on the 60th floor. Their demand is simple. They want to talk to you, face to face. What about the staff? Parker from accounting, Stevens from legal, and your EA. Adrian's face was unreadable, but you could see a frigid inferno start blazing in his eyes. Rachel. That's the one, sir. Arya watched him process the info. She knew what he was doing, turning pure rage into a calculated plan, turning fear into a weapon. The head of security asks, "What are your orders?" Adrian's response is ice. The plan hasn't changed. I'm going up. You lock this place down tight. If things go south, your only job is getting the hostages out. Not me. Sir, he adds, that's an order. Adrian's eyes locked on Arya, creating a new, unbreakable boundary around her. You're staying with Jenkins. He's the only thing keeping you safe. If they get me, Jenkins has one job, get you out of the city, hell, out of the country if he has to. The protocol is active. He knows the drill. The whole scene felt like a fever dream. Yesterday, she was serving food. Tonight, she's in a concrete bunker watching a guy she barely knows get ready to face down gunmen. Adrian, she yells out, wait. He pauses. Be safe. A flicker of something she couldn't name crossed his face. Always. Then he was gone, heading up in the elevator's steel box with 2 of his guys. Arya stood next to Jenkins, a man so still he seemed part of the building, and fought to get a breath. He'll be okay, Jenkins rumbled, his voice a low vibration that didn't match his size. Mr. Voss always is. The file on Subject Voss shows his stats in high-pressure situations make this look like a tea party. Then a text hits her phone, no name attached, just pure digital poison. This was never your fight. Now their blood is on your hands. And just like that, Arya starts showing all the textbook signs of a complete freakout. She shows the phone to Jenkins, whose face turns to solid rock. He knows the play. It's a classic mind game from Vance's little book of tricks. Don't reply. A second text comes through. It's a video link. A live feed from the 60th floor. 3 people on their knees in front of a dude with a rifle. The message was crystal clear. Rachel, Adrian's assistant, was first on the chopping block. She's maybe 25, the perfect target to hit him where it hurts. Arya's hand started to shake. She begged to do something, but Jenkins hit her with the cold facts. Mr. Voss was already doing something. The fear of them dying was met with absolute certainty based on psych profiles. Adrian Voss, he explained, never plays a losing hand and is loyal to the bone. Arya's hope was fighting a hard truth she learned over 3 miserable years. Promises from powerful dudes are built to break. The elevator dings on the 60th floor, and there's Adrian walking out with his hands open. The universal sign for I'm not here to fight. He's facing 4 guys, hired guns who only care about the paycheck, not the cause. The head goon, some 40-something guy with a gnarly scar, starts talking trash. Adrian doesn't even let him finish, immediately cutting in and demanding he let the hostages go. The merc just smirks, a huge mistake because he has no idea who's really in charge here. Adrian's reply was a stone-cold lecture on who owned the board, telling him this tower, its security, and this whole city were basically his playthings. He laid out how trapped they were, explaining that hurting the hostages means they lose their only get-out-of-jail-free card. Then he sliced right through the BS to get to the real reason Marcus sent them. The merc tried to deny it, but his face crumpled when Adrian started dropping his own intel. He revealed he knew the guy was at a 5-year-old crime scene, relabeling the Bennett's deaths from a tragic accident to a straight-up hit job. A tiny screen became the judge and jury playing old traffic cam footage that put the merc right there. Adrian just systematically tore the guy's world apart, showing him he didn't just have information, he had people. He'd found the mechanic who discovered the cut brake lines and the dirty investigator who buried the original report. And guess what? They were both singing like canaries to the feds. The merc's knuckles turned white on his rifle, a sign his professional cool was officially shattered. Adrian laid out the future, not as a threat, but as a fact. He gave them 2 choices. They could fight and get put down like dogs, or they could surrender before the charges get bumped up to capital murder. The guy tried to bring up Marcus, but Adrian just waved it off, revealing a federal raid was about to crash down on Marcus's HQ any second. He turned time into a weapon. A countdown clock, squeezing the merc's options from 10 minutes to 8. The guy snarled that it was a bluff, and Adrian just said, "Go on, make the call." One quick phone call was all it took for the merc's world to end. All the blood drained from his face as his boss screamed a warning at him. Adrian broke down the situation, painting Marcus not as some scary mob boss, but as a pathetic loser about to rot in a supermax cell. He gave them one last out. Walk away now or get dragged down with Marcus's sinking ship. You could see the silent conversation between the 4 goons, a quick calculation that this job was a total bust. Their leader finally lowered his gun, spitting out some empty threat about this not being over. And that's when Adrian's own tactical teams seemed to melt out of the walls, showing everyone just how deep his control really ran. After the firefight, business took a back seat as Adrian checked on Rachel. He issued crisp commands to his squad, covering everything from bullet wounds to shell shock. With hostages free and shooters cuffed, Adrian just surveyed the city like he owned it. Then Arya basically teleports in, locking eyes with the mastermind of the whole operation. He doesn't ask. He tells her, "You're all right. as he turns to face her. Was there ever any doubt? He shot back. She admitted she was freaking out for 20 straight minutes. A small smirk appeared when he called her out for ditching the garage. She retorted that she was done hiding for good. Turns out the FBI was already closing in. Today's chaos just sped up their 2-year-long case against Marcus Vance. When she assumed it was for her, he shot that down, separating his personal drive from cold, hard justice, and showed her the proof. Marcus Vance in cuffs on a newsfeed. The finality of the news hit Arya like a ton of bricks. Phase 1 was complete, but Adrian warned her the legal war was just beginning. Still, he guaranteed Marcus was finished, describing how his entire shady empire was now imploding. Daniel's future was also toast, his project dead in the water. But with her enemies completely wrecked, Arya felt nothing, just a giant empty hole where the victory should be. And she asked him why winning felt so vacant. Adrian just watched her, pointing out that winning looks different for everyone. For some, it's about pure destruction. For others, it's about building something new. When she flipped the question on him, he went quiet for once, admitting he was still figuring that out. This tiny crack in his armor changed everything. Seizing the moment, Arya switched topics from the takedown to the tension between them, bringing up their kiss at the gala. She asked if that kiss was just another calculated move. The hard lines of his face actually softened as he said it was time for answers. He admitted it was 100% not part of the plan. He explained that after watching her turn into a ghost for 3 years, he snapped when Daniel tried to finish the job. The kiss was a total impulse, a way to remind her what it felt like to be wanted, not broken. She flat out called it a terrible reason, and he didn't even try to argue. When she said an apology would make her hate him, it showed how much she accepted his crazy methods. She let him close, a silent truce in their insane reality. She stated she wasn't some fragile thing needing a hero, which he already knew. So she asked what he needed. His answer was a black hole. For 2 years, his entire life was about avenging his brother, with zero plans for the morning after. Then it all clicked for her. Her fight wasn't revenge. It was about her need to cook, to create. His reply was a simple, God-tier command. Then do it. He laid out a new deal. He would handle the war and the money. Her only job was to get back in the kitchen. When she asked his price, he looked away, admitting he wanted his brother back. Since that was impossible, he'd settle for burning his enemies to the ground. She saw his path for what it was, an endless, toxic cycle of revenge. He basically admitted it was all he had left. Arya stood with him, calling him out, saying his vengeance was just a way to hide from being scared of who he'd be without the rage. His broken laugh told her she was right. Then she confessed her own fear that after 3 years, the artist inside her might actually be gone. His answer was 2 words of pure conviction. "It isn't." "You can't know that," she said, "but I can." He argued that real talent never dies. It just gets buried under life's garbage. He turned to her, intense. "The artist in you is sleeping, not dead. You just shut her down." "And if I fail?" He scoffed. "Failure is a moment, not who you are. You just go again." He admitted he fails constantly. His only trick is that he never quits. With a hollow smile, he gave his order. "Tomorrow you cook. You remember that fire. Nothing else matters." Arya just stared, trying to believe him. She wanted to believe him, but life had taught her better. Then her phone buzzed. It was Maya. Marcus Vance was officially in custody. Her reply was short. "It is done. Are you okay?" "Getting there. Your parents would have been proud. That last message hit her like a lightning bolt. Her parents never saw what she became. They died believing in her. A sudden urge took over. I have to go to their graves, Arya declared. Adrian didn't miss a beat. I'll arrange it. Privacy, security, it's handled. Thank you! Why? He asked. For giving me the chance to fight back. For thinking I was worth it. He shook his head. You saved yourself, Arya. I just supplied the hardware. The truth wasn't that simple, but she was breathing. Her heart was beating. That had to mean something. The next day, she saw her old restaurant, Ember, for the first time in 3 years. It was bigger, slicker. Daniel had sunk cash into it, making it look successful. But the bones of the place were hers. Adrian stood beside her. Ready? No. Excellent. The most important moments happen when you're not, he said. They walked in. The inside was new too, but her core design was still there. The open kitchen, the curve of the bar. A chef looked up, her eyes widening. You're Arya Bennett. I am. The chef gushed. Your early menus. I've studied them. They're brilliant. She introduced herself as Sarah Chen, the head chef. Or I was, she added with a smirk. As of 10 minutes ago. Daniel's been screaming about lawsuits and firing us all morning. The relief on Sarah's face was obvious. Honestly, I'm glad. Working for him was soul-crushing. He'd change the menu 3 times a day. That's Daniel, Arya agreed. Are you taking over? Before Arya could answer, Adrian stepped in. She is, and we'd like you to stay. If you'll have us, I need someone who knows this kitchen. Sarah was stunned. Seriously? I'd do anything to work with you. Your Korean short rib recipe. I've tried to crack it for 2 years. Arya smiled. The secret is the timing. You have to let the gochujang caramelize just right. Too hot and it burns, too cool and the flavor is flat. Sarah's eyes lit up. Could you show me? Now the kitchen's empty. Arya looked down at her clothes. I don't have my coat. I have spares, Sarah said, already moving. We're about the same size. Adrian stopped Arya with a hand on her arm. Go. I'll handle the lawyers. Are you sure? I am. This is your kingdom, not mine. He gave her a firm squeeze. Show them what they've been missing. She nodded. The coat he handed her felt like she was finally taking her life back. After a 3-year hiatus, the world finally made sense again. The familiar heft of the knife, the smells, the rhythm of the work. She walked Sarah through the science of a 24-hour marinade and double-fried rice cakes. Other cooks gathered around, watching and taking notes. And for the first time in forever, Arya felt complete. Not a victim, not a ghost, but the creator, the artist who could turn fire and food into something amazing. And just like that, Sarah gets it. 1 bite, and her world is rocked. So that's the taste she's been chasing. It's not some galaxy brain recipe. It's about trusting the process. Arya just laughs, a legit laugh of pure relief. Across the room, Adrian's been watching the whole show. He hits her with this slow burn smile that just lights her up inside. This is it. Forget revenge. This feeling right here is the real prize. Sarah's hooked, asking, what else you got? Arya's mind basically opens a secret menu of unreleased bangers. She hits back with, everything. I can teach you everything. They cook for hours, dropping classic hits and new fire tracks. As the sun goes down, Adrian strolls in with a stack of papers. He drops them in front of her. Bam! Amber is hers again. Signing her name feels like a scene from a movie. Adrian's all, "Congrats, boss," but she's not having it. "Partners," she corrects him. The contract says 50-50. And, yeah, it's necessary. She lays it out for him. "You risked it all. You orchestrated this whole thing. That makes us partners. Equal stakes. Equal say." He gives her this intense look, checking for any hesitation. "You sure?" She doesn't blink. "I am." So he agrees, but with one massive condition. Her art comes first. Always. No compromising for cash, for trends, for anyone, especially not for him. This restaurant lives or dies on her terms. You can feel the weight of that promise. "Deal." They shake on it, and the game is officially on. Arya's standing in her new kingdom, looking at her crew, her space, and the guy who pulled her out of the fire. Then her phone buzzes. It's a message from her loser ex, Daniel. "You think you won. This is not over." She deletes it without even replying. He's dead wrong. It wasn't a thought. It's a fact. She already won. And even better, he's a nobody now. His threats are just the last pathetic gasps of a man who's already lost. He's ancient history. Adrian slides up next to her, instantly sensing the vibe shift. "Everything all right?" "Yep, just deleting old junk." He guesses immediately. "Daniel." "How'd you know?" He nails it. Guys like him think screaming louder makes them right. Adrian takes a sip of his champagne. He doesn't get it. You've leveled up. No lawsuit on earth can touch you now. What if he tries? Then we fight him. Together. That wasn't a suggestion. It was a goddamn promise. She's not fighting alone anymore. But after everything, promises feel like smoke. Adrian sees the doubt in her eyes and puts his glass down to get real with her. "I'm not Daniel. I'm not here to take what you've built." He tells her this place is her soul on a plate. He's just here to help serve it. When she asks why, he drops a bomb. 2 years ago, his brother died, and the grief turned him into a pure revenge machine. He pauses. "Watching you take your world back, it showed me there was another way out, besides just burning everything down." So, was she just his rehab project? Nope. He says it was a two-way street. He needed purpose beyond pure destruction, and she needed a shield. A perfectly balanced deal. Arya's heart is hammering. With the fight over, he throws out a new mission. Build. "You'll create the best restaurant in this city, and I'll build an empire." Then he leaves a little cliffhanger. And maybe. Maybe what? "Maybe," he says, "we find out if this thing between us is real, or just a product of the war zone." The honesty is insane. Right there, on her home turf, surrounded by her people and the guy who made it happen, something inside her just clicks. The risk suddenly looks different. She accepts the partnership. And for the first time, Adrian gives a real, genuine smile, looking years younger. He leans in and kisses her, but it's slow, a question, not a command like before. The second he pulls back, the whole kitchen crew erupts in cheers. Sarah yells that the tension has been killing them for weeks, making Arya blush like crazy. She tries to deny it, but gets drowned out by laughter, even from Adrian. The chemistry is undeniable. For Arya, it's a breakthrough. The first hit of pure happiness she's felt in 3 long years. This isn't about her enemies losing. It's about her winning herself back with this new family. A text from her friend Maya confirms a visit for the opening. Arya shoots back that they'll be ready in 2 weeks, adding a heart before looking back at the massive challenge ahead. When she questions the insane timeline, his answer is pure, uncut faith in her. She points out how certain he is, and he just says her own spirit made him that way. Her friend Sarah raises a glass to Ember, to new beginnings, and to Arya, finally getting what she deserves. In that moment, surrounded by her crew, Arya feels a deep, profound quiet. Not the quiet of surrender, but the silence after a long, brutal war is finally won. She felt totally safe in the life she'd clawed back, her identity locked down tight. That feeling lasted for exactly 6 days. Arya's in the zone, perfecting a new dessert, when Adrian's head of security just appears. His face is a stone-cold mask of business. He calls her Miss Bennett, and that formal tone is a massive red flag. She puts her spoon down and asks what's wrong. He just says Mr. Voss is waiting for her upstairs in the office. She finds him staring out the window, his shoulders locked in that all-too-familiar crisis mode. "Tell her," he says without turning. The security chief hands her a plain envelope. No return address. Inside, there are surveillance photos of her and Adrian from the last week. A typed note is clipped to them. "You took something that belonged to us. We will take something that belongs to you." An ice-cold dread floods her veins. Who is this? His best guess? Allies of Marcus Vance. Guys he ruined. They're being watched. He admits his own team missed the surveillance, which means these guys are pros, probably ex-spooks. Then he shows her his phone. A new message sent 5 minutes ago. The picture makes Arya's stomach drop. It's her sister Maya walking into her apartment, completely oblivious. "It's another threat against my sister." "No," Adrian corrects, his jaw clenched. "It's a warning. It's a display of how far their reach is." He admits the war is far from over. She thought putting Marcus in a cage was the end. An organization like that, he tells her, doesn't die when you cut off the head. It just grows a new one. He admits he miscalculated the blowback. When she asks what's next, he says they're beefing up security and fast-tracking a certain project. On his screen are Vance's hidden accounts. They found it. A payment of $500,000 to a company called Titan Security, made the same week her parents were killed. 3 days after that payment, they were gone. 2 days after they died, a final payment of $250,000 hit Titan Security's account. The memo was simple: 4 services rendered. The company is still up and running. The world tilts as Arya puts the pieces together. The people who murdered her parents are now hunting them. Marcus Vance just ordered the hit. Adrian explains. Titan was the weapon. Until every single piece of that machine is broken, we'll never be safe. The war wouldn't be over until the men who killed her parents were eliminated. "We're not unmasking them," he said, his face dead serious. "We're going inside their whole operation. And for that to work, I need you to trust me completely, no questions asked." He warned her the plan was sketchy as hell, borderline illegal, and gave her a chance to bail. Arya dropped into a chair, her legs giving out, ready to hear the crazy pitch. Titan Security, he explained, is an invite-only club. You can't get in without a referral from a current member. And get this. He says Daniel's family used them 3 times in 5 years to take out business rivals. "I don't need Daniel," he finished. "I need you." That line hit her like a ton of bricks. Then he laid out the whole insane strategy. With Daniel broke and about to be indicted, the guy's a cornered animal. Dudes like him don't take the L, they get even. So they'd give him a new target, her. They'd juice up his rage, trick him into thinking he could get his reputation back by publicly destroying her. When he inevitably calls Titan to do the dirty work, they'd be waiting to snatch the signal, trace it back to the big boss, and gut the entire organization. "You want me to be the bait," she said, the cold reality hitting her hard. He spun it a different way. This was her shot, he argued, to finish the war her parents started, to make damn sure these assassins never destroy another family. Leaning in, his voice got low. "The risk is off the charts. I can't make you do this." Her mind was racing. It was a total long shot, a plan that only works if she can survive being bait for professional killers, with only Adrian's invisible army to protect her. But her parents died fighting this exact evil. Finishing their fight felt worth the gamble. "What do I have to do?" she asked. First, he shot back. "We make you famous. You do interviews about bringing Ember back from the dead. You're gonna tell the whole world how you snatched your restaurant back from Daniel, painting yourself as this unstoppable force to set his rage on fire. The goal is to make him so mad and so desperate he finally calls Titan. Second, we stage a super public, brutal showdown, engineered to make him look like a pathetic loser while you look like a queen. Third, we wait. The second Daniel makes that call, my team traces the signal, identifies all the key players, and we drop the whole file, including the truth about your parents' murder, right on the FBI's desk. The plan was terrifyingly brilliant. What if Titan makes a move before he calls, she asked. He laid out all the backup plans and escape routes in a calm, steady voice. Then his tone changed, and he swore he would protect her, a promise she knew was a nice thought, but ultimately just words. He rephrased it, vowing to use every last resource he had as her shield and, if the opening came, to burn their entire network to the ground. Her eyes went back to the photos, a cold, hard reminder of the stakes. She finally said what they were both thinking. The endgame is already here. He just gave a grim nod. A cold resolve to see this psycho plan through to the end settled over her. On Adrian's face, you could see pride fighting with something way darker. He saw she was ready. She admitted she wasn't, but she was going to do it anyway. She straightened up, her whole body screaming she was ready for a fight. She asked when the show started. "Tomorrow," he said, "a food critic from the Times is set to review Ember, and Arya's job was to tell the absolute savage truth." She knew instantly what that meant. This was painting a bullseye on her back. He corrected her. It would make her the bullseye, the one thing their entire plan pivoted on. He stood up, moved closer, giving her one last silent chance to walk away. A quick flash of her parents' faces of 5 years spent hunting the wrong enemy went through her head. She declared she wasn't backing down. He replied, "Then tomorrow, the war starts again." The next morning, Arya sat across from Jennifer Walsh of the New York Times, a reporter famous for being sharp but fair. A little red light on the recorder blinked on as Jennifer began, "Tell me about Ember, the restaurant that almost became a legend." Arya had practiced the story in her head, a perfect tale she knew by heart. But now, with the fight about to go public, her mouth went completely dry. 3 years ago, I was the one and only brain behind every single thing in this place. Every plate you taste came from my private journals, my endless testing, my creative soul. The restaurant, though, opened with the name Daniel Cross on it, a memorial to a massive screw-up on my part. We were engaged, building what I believed was our life together. You could see the tension in her jaw. 2 weeks before we opened, he called off the wedding and took everything we'd built. The building, the recipes, the brand, it all became his. Jennifer's pen scratched away, recording every word. Why didn't you take him to court? His family has a legal army bigger than anything I could ever hope to afford. Because I was broke, my spirit was crushed, and I had nobody. Because any fight in court felt like a loss before it even started. What was the turning point? Arya's eyes found Adrian, who was standing like a statue near the kitchen door. He gave her one solid nod. I stopped running from him in fear. I refused to let him keep being the author of my life story. She locked eyes with Jennifer. Daniel Cross is a marketing genius, a master at spinning a story people want to believe. But he is not a chef. He has never had that in him. Every piece of praise Ember ever got was built on the back of my stolen work. Those are some heavy accusations. They are also facts I can prove. I have every original design doc, every research notebook, all our digital messages, and the video diaries from our entire development process. The proof that these ideas are mine is solid rock. Jennifer leaned forward, the air thick with the bombshell she just dropped. And now you're taking the restaurant back? With support from Adrian Voss, an equal partnership was formed. The new Ember wouldn't just be a comeback, but a complete reinvention, all under her control and with her name out front. No one knew how Daniel would react, but his constant stream of legal threats showed a guy who was totally losing his grip. The question of payback was her official entry into the war zone. Daniel's first try at systematically destroying her was a total flop. A second try, she hinted with a tiny smile, was more than welcome. This time, not only was she ready for him, she was no longer fighting him by herself. The interview continued, but the talk about food and philosophy was just cover for her declaration of war. They were just filler questions. The real mission was accomplished. The story was about to be everywhere. Arya Bennett taking back her legacy from the man who stole it. The story was a classic tale of the underdog getting justice. The setup was flawless, and Daniel would read every single word, feeling the sting of being shamed in public. He would then have no choice but to call the only people he thought could fix his wrecked reputation. After Jennifer left, Adrian came back with his head of security. The bait had been swallowed. The article was going live tomorrow morning. His phone was their eye in the sky. His surveillance crews were already digging through Daniel's entire digital life. They would know the instant he reached out to anyone on their blacklist. How long until he called Titan? A few days, maybe a few hours, if his ego was as fragile as they thought. The next moves were laid out. They'd trace the call, map out their entire digital network, and hand the file over to the FBI, a package with enough evidence to force them to act. The plan sounded way too simple, something she knew it wouldn't be in reality. Arya's phone buzzed. A text from Maya. The preview was up, her accusation out there for the world to see. She texted back that it had to be done, warning her to be careful. Daniel wasn't the kind of guy who handled losing well. Maya got it, texting that she was counting on him being that predictable. A bunch of stressed-out emojis followed. Because of this, Maya was changing her flight, landing tomorrow morning, and she wouldn't listen to any arguments. Arya's smile was a small victory against the growing dread. She gave in, but only if Maya had full security at Adrian's place. The deal was sealed with I love yous. She put her phone down and saw Adrian watching her. Maya's arrival tomorrow would be met by a car and a full security squad. She was going to hate being watched all the time, losing her freedom. But it was way better than the alternative. His face was dead serious, his words heavy. These are not people who play games. The second that article drops, you become a problem that needs to be solved. She told him she understood. But did she really? There's a huge gap between knowing something in your head and the ice-cold feeling in your gut that someone is actively planning your death. The two feelings are not the same. She thought about her parents, the smashed car on a lonely road that was no accident, and 5 years of unanswered questions. They had already killed her parents, threatened her sister, and used Daniel to tear her life apart. She knew exactly what they were capable of. Her eyes met his, a glare that was both a promise and a dare. She was seeing this game to the bitter end. A flicker of something like respect crossed his face. He told her they needed to get ready, stat. The security rundown took a solid 2 hours. They went over every possible escape from the restaurant, a whole network of hideouts, and a list of code words for when things got real. They drilled her on what to do if approached and who to signal if a tale seemed sketchy. By the time it was over, Arya's head was fried. She called it a psychotic level of paranoia. Adrian shot back, "Welcome to my world," and slid over another file. This one held what the enemy had no clue about. They'd been watching Titan for months, clocking their schedules, their moves, and how they talked. They also found their biggest weakness, a terminal case of arrogance. These guys operated like they were invincible, and that, he explained, was the whole damn strategy. Cocky people make mistakes. They underestimate their opponents. They get sloppy. He threw down some spy shots, unmarked vans, guys moving with way too much purpose. Confirmed Titan goons, and they already had IDs on 3 of them. The second Daniel made his move, they'd start watching her. And that's when they'd hit back. The play? They were going to build a fake reality just for them. They'd paint a picture of her as exposed, defenseless, and an easy grab. His smile was ice cold. When they moved in to take her, the real trap would be waiting. So she was bait again. He corrected her. She was the trigger, and that difference, he said, was everything. From where she was standing, it really wasn't. Adrian's whole vibe softened, just a little. He admitted she was terrified, and that asking her to trust him was asking for the world. He swore on his life they had a counter plan for every possible nightmare scenario. She wouldn't be alone. She wouldn't be vulnerable. If one thing went sideways, his extraction teams were ready to roll in seconds. She fired back. What if the bad guys move faster than your team? He promised they wouldn't. She argued he couldn't possibly know that for sure. Oh, but he could, he said, because he'd spent 2 years of his life psychoanalyzing Titan's entire operation. He knew their timing, their rules, and their exact risk assessment. He stepped closer, his whole presence a shield. He would not let them touch her. Arya wanted to believe him, to hide inside his insane confidence. But she'd learned the hard way that control is a joke and chaos is the only thing you can count on. But this was the path she'd chosen, for her family, for herself, and for every person Titan had ruined. Fine, let's do it. Adrian kissed her forehead. The article drops tomorrow. And with that, the world was about to catch fire. The story went live at 6 a.m. By 7, it had 40,000 shares. By 8, every major news outlet was running it. By 9, Arya's phone was a screaming mess of interview requests, messages of support, and death threats. She sat in Ember's office, sifting through the chaos as Sarah ran the kitchen downstairs. Some messages were from friends, cheering her on for fighting back and sharing their own stories of being ripped off. Others were vicious, shadow accounts calling her a bitter liar, a scorned woman out to destroy a good man. Most came from burners, probably Daniel's puppets or maybe the man himself. Then came the threats that made her blood run cold. You should have kept your mouth shut. Some secrets need to stay buried. Enjoy your 15 minutes? Adrian appeared in the doorway. Daniel's lawyers just filed for defamation, $10 million in damages. She guessed they were claiming she made the whole thing up. He confirmed every last word. They're saying it was a partnership, that you're twisting the story, and that you're just a spiteful ex trying to wreck his career. She asked if they had a shot. Not a chance. Our proof is solid, but they'll drag this through the courts for months. It was an attack on her money, her time, and her will to fight. He sat down across from her. That's their whole game plan. Bleed you dry until you give up. Except I'm using your money. Except you're using mine. His phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and his face went hard. We've got movement. Daniel just made a call to an untraceable number, totally encrypted. My team is on it. Arya's heart leaped into her throat. Titan. Too soon to say, but the pattern is a massive red flag. He stood up. Stay here. Do not leave this building. My people are already outside. Where are you going? To make sure we don't lose this lead. If Daniel's calling Titan, I need to be on that line. He was gone before she could argue. Arya was left alone in the office, with the normal sounds of the kitchen floating up from below. Sarah yelling orders, the clatter of pans, the beat of a life that wasn't hers anymore. Her phone vibrated, an unknown number. Her first instinct was to ignore it. But something deeper, something primal, made her pick up. Arya Bennett. The voice was male, flat, with zero emotion, and totally new to her. Who is this? Someone who wants to help. I know about your little op. I know you're trying to bait Titan security. A jolt of pure ice shot through her. I have no idea what you're talking about. Yes, you do. And I'm telling you to stop, because you're walking into a hurricane you can't even imagine. Who are you? A former operative. Someone who got out before my soul was completely gone. A beat of silence. They know about your plan. They know you're the bait. And they have zero interest in playing your little game. How could they know? Because they aren't idiots. And because Adrian Voss isn't the ghost he thinks he is. The man's voice dropped. Listen to me very carefully. Titan's protocol isn't what you think. They don't wait for a contract. They practice preemptive threat removal, and right now you are the biggest target on their board. Arya's hand started to shake. What did that mean? It meant they weren't waiting for Daniel's green light. They were coming for her on their own. Tonight, tomorrow, but it was happening. Why are you telling me this? Because I've seen what happens to people who get in their way. And because you remind me of someone I failed to save. A heavy pause. Get out of the city, grab your sister, and disappear. It's the only way you survive. That's not possible. Then you're already dead. My condolences. The line went dead. Arya stared at her phone, her heart hammering against her ribs. It was a fake out. It had to be. A play to make her run. But what if it was real? She dialed Adrian. He picked up the first ring. What's the situation? Some guy called me, said he was ex-Titan. He said they're not waiting for an order. They're coming for me right now. The line was just static. Then, stay exactly where you are. I'm sending a team to you. Do not leave that room. Do not let anyone in unless they're my guys. Adrian, I'm not kidding. No one else? I'll be there in 10 minutes. He hung up. Arya locked the office door, sliding down against the wood. Her mind raced. This could be a head game, something to make her panic, to make her bolt, or it was the real deal, the final warning before the lights went out. Either way, she was trapped in this building, a prisoner in a war she started but couldn't control. Heavy, fast footsteps pounded up the stairs. She grabbed a letter opener from the desk. A pathetic weapon against a pro, but better than nothing. A knock. Ms. Bennett, it's Jenkins. Mr. Boss sent me. Jenkins, Adrian's head of security, the guy from the garage. But the voice was all wrong, too high, too thin. Give me your verification. Ma'am, we don't have time. Prove it, or this door stays shut. Silence. Then, Mr. Voss told me to say that the first time he saw you, you looked like someone who forgot they were supposed to be alive. The words hit her like a punch to the gut. Adrian had said that to her. The night he told her why he was helping. She threw the lock. The man standing there wasn't Jenkins. He was younger, his eyes were colder, and a gun was strapped to his hip. Arya tried to slam the door shut, but she was a split second too late. He jammed it, shoving his way inside. Don't make a sound! Don't fight! This can be easy! She lunged with the tiny blade. A wild, desperate move. He grabbed her wrist, twisting it with expert force until the opener clattered to the floor. I said, don't fight. Who are you? Someone who gets paid to fix problems. He pulled out a pair of zip ties. We're going for a little walk. Nice and quiet. You scream and I'll clean out that entire kitchen. You got that? Arya's brain was doing calculus at light speed. A scream meant Sarah was dead. Fighting back meant they all got smoked. But playing along might just buy enough time for Adrian to show up. Yeah, I get it. Good. Hands behind your back. She did it, the zip ties digging into her wrists. He dragged her to a back stairwell, a service corridor far from the kitchen and any potential heroes. This was her master plan going up in flames the moment she became just another statistic. He gets to the alley door, pushes it open, and bam! Plot twist. Adrian is standing there with 6 guys, all armed, all aiming right at him. Let her go. Adrian's voice was pure ice. Now. The goon holding Arya froze, his mind totally short-circuiting. He already had his piece pressed against her spine. I walk out of here, or she gets it. You're dead either way. The only question is whether she dies with you. You're bluffing. Try me. Adrian's face was a stone mask. You've got 3 seconds. Let her go, or you'll find out what happens when you mess with my assets. The guy's grip tightened, then suddenly went slack. He shoved Arya forward. She stumbled right into Adrian's arms. Run, Adrian told the goon. And tell your boss that next time there won't be a warning. The guy bolted, and Adrian's team just let him fade into the night. Why? Arya choked out. Because him running scared is a better weapon than his corpse. He'll deliver the report, confirm the failure, and set their entire organization on fire. Adrian whipped out a knife and sliced her free. Are you hurt? No, shaken up but not hurt. Good, because we're leaving. He rushed her to a car that was already waiting. They were speeding away before her brain could even catch up to what just happened. How did you know? She asked. I've been watching their surveillance feeds. I knew they had a mole inside. When you called me, all the pieces snapped together. His jaw was set like concrete. That phone call you got, it was 100% real. A former Titan agent named Marcus Chen. He's been feeding Safed's info for months. He warned you because they moved up the timetable. They're not waiting for Daniel. Nope. They're moving now, and that means we have to move even faster. The car sped down into an underground garage, pulling them deeper into the war. Adrian led her to an elevator that was going down, not up. Where are they going? To a legit fortress? 3 levels below the surface? Reinforced walls, multiple ways out. Nobody was breaking into this place. The doors opened up into a slick underground bunker. A whole living space, kitchen and offices, all buried under tons of earth. How long do I have to stay? Until this is finished, one way or another. Adrian showed her his phone. Maya is already here. My team snatched her from the airport the second the threat level spiked. She must be losing her mind. She is pissed, but she is safe. Right on cue, Maya stormed out of a bedroom, a mix of pure rage and fear on her face. What in God's name is going on? Arya went to hug her. I am sorry. I am so sorry. Stop apologizing and start talking. And so, Arya laid it all out. The plan, the warning call, the hitman in her office. Maya listened, and then she straight up punched Arya's shoulder. Ow. That's for being a moron. You used yourself as bait? Are you insane? Probably. Definitely. Maya spun around to face Adrian. And you let this happen. I didn't let anything happen. She made her own call. A reckless one. A necessary one, Arya fired back. These are the people who killed our parents, Maya. They're still out there hurting people. Someone has to make a stand. Someone, not you. Yes, me, because I have the evidence, the history, and the drive. She looked her sister dead in the eye. And if I don't finish what our parents started, who the hell will? Maya's anger just fizzled out. I can't stand to lose you, too. You won't, I promise. You can't promise that? No, but I can promise I'll use every single thing I have to come back. They hugged it out while Adrian was glued to his phone, making calls, coordinating his team, and planning the next stage of the war. At last, he hung up and faced them. Marcus Chen, the informant, just gave the FBI the whole damn database. Names, contracts, financials, every Titan operation for the past 10 years, including the file on your parents. A knot tightened in Arya's chest. That's good, right? It's the best possible news. It means federal teams are raiding every known Titan hideout right now. They're making arrests as we speak. So, it's over. Not totally. Titan's leadership is still in the wind, and they know their empire is crumbling, which makes them cornered, desperate, and extremely dangerous. So, what does that mean for us? It means we stay down here until the Bureau confirms every target is in a cage. That could be hours, or it could be days. Maya just collapsed onto the sofa. This is insane. This is justice, Adrian shot back. It's messy, brutal, nothing like the movies, but it's justice. His phone buzzed. He took the call, listened, and his entire demeanor shifted. I understand. Stay in touch. He ended the call and looked right at Arya. They've got the guy who came into your office. He's in custody, and he's talking. Talking about what? Everything, his boss, how they were tracking you, the whole organization. A cold smile spread across Adrian's face. He's giving up Titan's entire command structure to get immunity. This will all be over by morning. Arya's legs felt like they were about to give out. She sat down next to Maya, her hands shaking. It's really over. Not yet, but soon. Maya grabbed her hand, her grip like steel, as Arya waited in a bunker deep underground with her sister and the man who orchestrated her revenge, waiting for the chaos on the surface to finally burn out. 3 hours later, Adrian got the call. The FBI had 12 people in custody, including Titan's founder and the man who signed off on her parents' murder. It was done. Arya got to her feet as Adrian broke the news, walked to the bathroom, locked the door, and finally let herself completely break down for her parents. For the 5 years she thought their deaths were a tragic accident, for all the grief she had to swallow when she thought justice was impossible. She cried until her throat felt like sandpaper and her eyes burned until she was completely hollowed out. Then she splashed water on her face, stood up straight, and walked back into the room to face the future. Because this wasn't an ending. It was a new beginning. When Arya walked back into the main room, the silence between Maya and Adrian was thick enough to choke on. Her sister spoke first. "Are you okay?" "No, but I will be." Arya's voice was a rasp. "So, what's the next step?" Adrian stood up, pocketing his phone. "Now the FBI processes the suspects, builds their case, and we get ready for the next phase, which is your testimony. You'll need to give a full statement on your parents' investigation, what they found, and everything that happened since." The thought of digging up all that trauma again made her want to puke, but she nodded. The timeline was immediate. They had to move fast to get ahead of Titan's lawyers. He paused, then dropped another bombshell on the situation. Daniel had been arrested. Arya's lungs seized up. The charge was conspiracy, and it was backed up by way more than just a few texts. He had wired $50,000 for what he called consultation services. The grim look on Adrian's face said it all. This consultation was code for making her disappear for good. Her hand flew to her mouth in shock. Daniel had actually tried to pay a crew of professionals to have her killed. It was a hypothetical hit, but his intent was crystal clear. The feds had the wire transfers and the digital messages, a completely solid chain of evidence. As the target, Arya was supposed to be feeling some kind of victory, or maybe the sting of betrayal. Instead, all she felt was a deep, crushing exhaustion. The target, Daniel Cross, was officially neutralized. He was looking at 20 to 30 years behind bars, had been disowned by his family, and was now a total outcast in the food world. His name would become a warning about greed. This was the exact result she had engineered, his absolute ruin, his complete erasure. And yet, sitting in that underground shelter after a botched kidnapping, it didn't feel like a win. It felt like a massive, empty hole. She quietly said she needed some air, and Adrian pointed to a secure courtyard 1 floor up, offering to take her. The courtyard was a weird paradox, a small space where you could see the sky through armored glass, a little piece of organic sanity in the middle of all this paranoia. Arya sat down, tilting her face up to the light just as Adrian joined her. He asked why she looked more like she had lost than won. A dry, bitter laugh was her only answer as she asked him what winning was even supposed to feel like. His response was a cold, hard list of facts. She had taken down the organization that murdered her parents, removed the guy who hijacked her entire life's work, and had taken back her future. Objectively speaking, this was a massive success. She then laid out the real problem. Then why do I feel so empty? Adrian just watched her, trying to figure out the disconnect. He dropped a truth bomb. Revenge doesn't heal trauma, it just puts a fence around it. She called him out for repeating himself, and he was like, yeah, 'cause it's always true. Taking out the bad guys doesn't bring back what you lost. It just stops you from losing more. Arya just soaked it all in, feeling the sun. Her parents were still gone, and she'd torched 5 years of her life. No amount of justice could change that. He agreed, but then he slid in with a new take. Her warpath gave their deaths meaning. They were casualties in a battle against a corrupt system. She didn't start the fight, but she damn well finished it. Even though it felt like nothing now, he promised that was just the adrenaline dump. Soon, she'd wake up to actual, legit freedom. For the first time, nobody owned a piece of her. But believing that, feeling that the massive void inside would ever shrink, that was a tough pill to swallow. After 3 years of pure survival mode, she knew hope was a sucker's bet. She even questioned if she was broken, if she'd forgotten how to just be a person. Adrian turned her to face him, his eyes scanning her like a diagnostic tool. He laid out the game plan for her reboot, one step at a time. Tomorrow, she wasn't cooking to survive or prove a point. She was gonna cook just for the hell of it. That one simple act, done over and over, would be the thing that finally kicks Daniel and Titan out of her head. She'd just be living. Forging a new reason to exist. She pointed out how ridiculously simple it all sounded. He admitted it was the hardest thing she'd ever do, calling it the final boss of mind games, letting go of the rage that kept her going. But he had zero doubts she could pull it off. A lump formed in Arya's throat as she flipped the script, asking him what his plans were now that the mission was over. A sad little smile hit his lips. He confessed his entire life plan ended with getting justice for his brother. She shot back that maybe they both needed to start figuring things out. He stood, helped her up, but said they had to see this through to the end first. Tomorrow's statement would lock down the FBI's case for good. Then, she added under her breath, they could figure out who they were when they weren't just survivors. Back inside, her sister, Maya, was glued to her phone. Arya checked in, asking if she was good. Maya said she was getting more emergency leave, thanking her lucky stars for a cool boss. She wasn't going anywhere until this was all over. When Arya tried to argue, Maya shut it down flat. She'd already buried their parents. She refused to do the same for her sister. End of discussion. Arya hugged her, speechless. Maya's only rule? No more using herself as a human shield. Deal. Just then, Adrian's phone buzzed. He stepped away. When he came back, his face was a stone-cold mask. It was the Bureau. They're moving up your testimony to tonight. What's the rush? Titan's legal crew is already making moves, he said, trying to get evidence tossed and claiming illegal surveillance. The usual scumbag playbook. The faster your story is on the record, the less ammo they have. A cold dread twisted in Arya's gut. Tonight? Like, right now. Within the hour, he confirmed. Agents are on their way. I'm not ready. You are. You've been unknowingly training for 5 years. Adrienne's voice was solid as a rock. Tell them everything. Your parents, what they found, what happened after. Don't leave a single thing out. What if I can't remember? What if I mess it up? Then you tell them you can't recall. The FBI doesn't need a perfect movie script, just the unvarnished truth. He put a hand on her shoulder. You got this. Maya stood up. I'm sitting in on the interview. You don't have to. I'm staying. They were my parents too. I have a right to hear exactly how they were stolen from us. 30 minutes on the dot, 2 feds showed up. A woman, Sarah Chen, and a man, Robert Martinez. They had a vibe of casual efficiency that screamed they were not to be messed with. Miss Bennett, thanks for doing this, Chen started. We know this is rough. We'll try to make it quick. They gathered in the bunker's main room. Chen slapped a recorder on the table while Martinez flipped open a notepad. Chen told her to start whenever she felt up to it. Arya took a huge breath and asked where to even begin. The agent pointed her to the start, her parents, their restaurant, and the questions they started asking. She began the tale, talking about their cozy little restaurant and how they first found sketchy financials. Cash popping up from nowhere, deposits from names they didn't recognize. At first, they thought it was just a bookkeeping mistake. But her dad, who was super meticulous, dug deeper and uncovered the truth. The restaurant was a front, used to launder dirty money in tiny, untraceable chunks. Martinez jumped in, asking if they knew whose cash it was. She told that they'd found a name, Marcus Vance, and a company, the Donovan Group. They had gathered a mountain of proof, ledgers, transaction slips, and were about to go to the cops. The next thing she knew, they were dead in what the police called a car accident. The report blamed slick roads, but she knew her father drove like a grandpa, and it had barely even rained. Chen leaned forward, completely locked in. She asked if Arya thought it was murder back then. Arya confessed she didn't want to believe it, but too many things were sketchy, like how fast the investigator wrapped it all up. When she pushed for answers, all she got were brick walls. When asked if she was threatened, she said it wasn't with direct words, but with a crystal clear message. Drop it, or you're next. The agents then shifted to Daniel Cross's involvement. Arya's fist tightened. He was her boyfriend when her parents died, acting all supportive while secretly killing any attempt she made to look into the crash. Looking back, it was obvious he was playing her the entire time. She thought he was protecting her from more pain, but he was really just protecting himself. Martinez scribbled that down, asking what made her so sure. She explained that a year after they died, Daniel brought in new partners tied to the Donovan Group, investors who wanted to expand like crazy. The second she started asking where all this new money came from, he dumped her and took over the restaurant completely. When they asked if she believed this new cash was connected to her parents' murder, she didn't hesitate. She laid out the deal she figured he'd made. He got the capital he was desperate for, and in exchange, the mob got a legit business for their operation. She was the one loose thread left. Agents Chen and Martinez shared a quick, loaded glance. Chen noted how serious the accusation was and asked for proof. Arya admitted she had nothing concrete, just a whole lot of coincidences that painted a very ugly picture. But, she added, Adrian had the hard evidence. The money trail linking Daniel's new partners directly to Marcus Vance and Titan Security. The agent confirmed they'd need every single one of those documents, and Arya promised the whole file was ready to go. The interview dragged on for another hour, digging into the gala, Adrian's part in it all, the threats, and the kidnapping attempt. By the end, Arya looked completely hollowed out, like every drop of emotion had been wrung out of her. Chen snapped her notebook shut, thanked her, and confirmed her testimony was the nail in the coffin. When asked if it was enough to put them away, Chen confirmed that with Marcus Vance's story and all the financial data, their case was a fortress. They could hit them with a laundry list of charges, from money laundering to conspiracy. She paused, then added that it was her parents' questions that started this whole avalanche. If they hadn't started digging, Titan's whole criminal empire might have stayed hidden forever. A weight Arya had been carrying for years just shattered. Their deaths weren't for nothing. They didn't die for a mistake. They died trying to blow the lid off a global crime ring, and you just finished what they started. This is a huge win. After the agents took off, Arya just sat there in total silence. Maya was crying softly beside her. Adrian hung back by the window, giving them their space. "I wish they could see this," Maya finally whispered. "I wish they knew they got justice." "Maybe they do." Arya grabbed her sister's hand. "Maybe somewhere they know we didn't give up. That you never gave up." "I ran away to Seattle and tried to forget." "You stayed and fought. That's never nothing." They just held each other as 5 years of crushing weight finally began to lift. Adrian's phone went off. He checked the screen, then looked over at them. The FBI just put out a press release confirming the arrests and detailing the case. They're naming your parents as the ones who first uncovered Titan's money laundering scheme. He held out the phone. The headline was a bombshell. "Massive criminal network dismantled after 5-year investigation initiated by murdered restaurateurs." Arya read the sentence, then read it again. Her parents were finally getting the credit they deserved. They weren't being remembered as victims, but as the heroes they were. "They're going to be famous," Maya said, her voice thick with emotion. "They'll be remembered," Arya corrected her gently, "for choosing to do the right thing no matter what it cost them." And just like that, her phone started blowing up. A storm of notifications from friends she hadn't heard from in ages, old co-workers, even total strangers, all of them dropping congrats, saying thanks, calling her a hero. She just powered the damn thing off. "I don't want to be brave. I just want this nightmare to end." That's when Adrian slid in. "It is. After tomorrow's hearing, you're done with this. The Bureau has everything they need. The case is out of your hands. Ember opens next week. You're gonna cook, create, and build that dream restaurant." He paused. "Unless you need more time." "Nope. I want to open. I want to move on. I have to prove I can build something epic from all this garbage. Then that is exactly what we will do." Maya got up. "I'm hitting the sack. My brain feels like it's been microwaved." She gave Arya a hug, then disappeared, leaving her alone with Adrian. "You should crash too," he said, real gentle. "I'm not tired. Just buzzing. My thoughts won't shut up. You want to talk about it?" "Not really. I just want to feel like a normal person for 5 minutes. I want to forget people tried to murder me, that my ex is locked up, and that my whole life has been one giant vendetta." Adrienne thought about it, then headed for the kitchen and started opening cabinets. "What are you doing? Forgetting for 5 minutes. And my guy pulls out eggs, butter, and a loaf of bread. When was the last time you ate something that wasn't a military-grade ration pack?" "This morning, I think. It's all a blur. Then sit down, let me cook for you." This whole situation was completely insane. Deep in a bunker, Adrian Voss, the billionaire revenge mastermind, was making scrambled eggs for her. She just stared. His movements were on point, but rusty, like a skill he learned ages ago and never used. "Where did you learn to do that?" she asked. "My brother. He was our family's chef. Made breakfast every Sunday. Eggs, toast, and this garbage coffee he swore was some fancy blend." Adrian's face went dark. "I haven't cooked this since he died. You don't have to eat it. I want to." It's time I held on to the good memories, not just the grief. He slid the eggs onto a plate. They were a little overdone, but they'd work. The toast was perfect. Arya took a bite, and the taste was like another lifetime. Comfort, normal, a life not run by fear. This is good. It's sufficient. Don't humor me. A sound slipped out of her, a real laugh. Fine. It's sufficient, but thank you. They ate their food in total silence. No talk about feds or crime syndicates was allowed to mess this up. There was just the food, the quiet, and the weird peace of surviving to see another sunrise. When they finished, Adrian grabbed the plates. Better? Yeah. Actually, yeah. She felt a massive weight just lift off her chest. He sat down next to her on the couch. Ask you what? The question you've been sitting on since the gala. Arya's heart was hammering against her ribs. You told me to wait until this was over. It's over. The arrests were made. The case is solid. We're just waiting for the courts to do their thing. His gray eyes locked onto hers. So ask me, was it real? The kiss and everything after it? Or was I just another chess piece to help you get your checkmate? Adriana's gaze didn't flinch. It was both. The straight-up honesty hit her like a punch. Explain. In the beginning, you were an asset. A way to get to Daniel and Marcus Vance. You were a means to an end. He paused. But somewhere between that night and now, you became something else. You became someone I started to care about, not just a tool I was using. When you walked into that meeting, when you stood up and dropped the truth, even though you were terrified, you chose to fight instead of run. He reached out and took her hand. You were a reminder that strength isn't about not having fear. It's about acting in spite of it. That is a very fancy way of saying you used me and then caught feelings. Yeah, basically. A small smile appeared on his lips. I'm not good at this, at being straight up about what I want instead of just taking it, but I'm trying to learn. And what is it that you want? Honestly, I want to see where this goes. I want to find out if what we have is real or just a bond forged in trauma. I want to build something that isn't based on revenge. He gave her hand a light squeeze. But only if that's what you want too. Arya looked at their hands clasped together, seeing everything they'd survived. The fear, the manipulation, the high-stakes gambles, and under it all, the spark of a real connection. The way he had protected her, trusted her, and brought her back to herself. I want that too. But I need you to promise me one thing. What's that? No more secrets. No more master plans you don't tell me about. If we're going to do this, we do it as equals, as partners. Not as a mastermind and his pawn. Deal. No more secrets. He pulled her closer. Anything else? Yeah. If you ever use me as bait again without my permission, I will figure out how to poison your food, slowly and painfully. Adrian's laugh was a rare thing, completely unguarded. A deal was struck. No more unapproved schemes. The kiss that came next was nothing like the calculated show at the gala. It was slow, real, raw, and human. As they broke apart, Arya rested her forehead on his. This was a spectacularly bad idea, a fact they both knew. They were a textbook case of mutual damage. Two traumatized, messed up people with serious attachment issues and a shared knack for complicated revenge. His smile was warm, like he had a theory. Maybe their shared brokenness was the one thing that could actually make them whole. They got the darkness in each other, that need for justice. Or maybe they were just too shattered to know what a healthy relationship looked like. That was also a very real possibility, as he gently tucked a piece of hair behind her ear. The only way to find out was to test it. They would try to have a connection. They would probably fail in a blaze of glory. Then they'd regroup and try again. It was a plan. A buzz from Arya's phone, which she'd turned back on out of habit, broke the moment. A text from Jennifer Walsh at the Times said an article about her parents was now online. She tapped the link, and a headline just sucked the air out of her lungs. The couple who died fighting corruption. How Helen and Robert Bennett's investigation led to the downfall of a criminal empire. The article laid out their lives in detail: the restaurant, the secret investigation, the proof they found, and the official story of an accident that their daughter had completely demolished. The article painted them as heroes, regular people who stood up to a special kind of evil and paid the ultimate price. They are finally telling their story, Arya whispered. Adrian read the words over her shoulder. They earned this ending, he said, to be remembered like this. If only they could see it. In you, they do. In the world you've made, and how you absolutely refuse to back down from injustice. He held her tight. You are their legacy, Arya, the living proof that their sacrifice wasn't for nothing. The tears came back, not from sadness, but from release. The mental weight of 5 years started to fade. Her parents were gone. That would never change. But their deaths now had a point. They weren't forgotten, and the monsters who ruined them would finally face the music. This would have to be enough. Maya showed up in the doorway, looking like she hadn't slept. I can't sleep. Too much adrenaline. A feeling Arya knew all too well. Her sister sat down. I saw the article about Mom and Dad. So had she. It was so weird seeing their names become public symbols, hearing people call them heroes. They were, Arya said. We were just too close to see the whole picture. Maya showed her phone. The screen lit up with a new memorial fund to help other small business owners fight corruption. Arya watched the donation number. In just 3 hours, it had shot past $200,000. Their impact was still being felt. Yeah, they are, Maya agreed, wiping her eyes. I am so proud of them. And I am so proud of you for finishing their work. I wasn't alone. But you finished it. That's what matters. The three of them sat there in silence, a small squad of survivors who had beaten impossible odds. They had turned grief and anger into something that mattered. A buzz from Adrian's phone cut through the quiet. He looked at the screen and stood up. The FBI had confirmed it. Arraignments were set for the morning. Titan's entire leadership, Marcus Vance, Daniel, all their cronies were facing full indictments with no plea deals on the table. The idea of justice was about to become a reality. He turned to Arya. Do you want to be there? Will I have to testify? No, you'd just be a spectator. Arya had this gut-level need to see the guys responsible slapped in cuffs, to watch them get brought low by the same justice system they spat on. All she could picture was Daniel and the nameless goons who took out her parents. This went for every single person who thought they were untouchable. She just had to be there when they crashed and burned. Adrian put a name to it, calling it a need for front row seats to justice. Maya gave her the green light, saying it was for their parents, turning this personal vendetta into a family mission, to see this whole nightmare through to the bitter end. And just like that, they had a plan for the next day, when the architects of their pain would finally get their invoice. For the first time in 5 years, something other than grief and pure rage started bubbling up inside Arya. She tagged it as hope, a thing she saw as crazy, dangerous, super fragile, and terrifying. But there it was, tied to the fact that her parents' murderers were about to have their day in court. The next phase of her life was all about restoring her family's name, then tackling the monster task of building some kind of future. This wasn't about forgetting the trauma, but learning how to live around it. Just getting by wasn't cutting it anymore. She was ready to heal. But at the courthouse, they hit a total media hurricane, a wall of flashing lights and shouting. Adriana's security team had to bulldoze a path right through the storm. A full body tremor ran through Maya, and she squeezed Arya's hand hard enough to hurt. "You ready for this?" Adrian's voice was low, a solid anchor. Arya's eyes were glued to the stone building in front of them, a monument to a justice system she'd given up on 5 years ago. "No," she said, "but we're going in." While they swam through the sea of people, questions flew at them like rocks. "Miss Bennett, how do you feel about your ex-fiancé's arrest? Is it true you orchestrated this whole thing? Do you take any responsibility for the deaths at Titan Security?" That last one hit home. She stopped, pinning the reporter with her gaze. "The only people responsible for those deaths are the ones who gave the orders." Her voice was dead flat. "I didn't cause this. I just refused to let it stay buried." A soft push from Adrian got her moving again, shutting it down. Inside, the courthouse felt heavy, designed to make you feel tiny and insignificant. Agent Chen was waiting for them. "Miss Bennett, Miss Maya, Mr. Voss," he said. "Arraignments start in 20 minutes, courtroom 3. I've got seats for you." Arya asked if all the suspects would be there. "Everyone from Titan we have in custody," Chen confirmed. 16 defendants. Marcus Vance, Daniel Cross, and Thomas Reeves are on the list. That last name was a total blank. "Who is Thomas Reeves?" "A Titan's founder," Chen explained, his voice low. "The guy who built the whole crooked machine, and the one who personally authorized the termination of your parents." The name hit like a punch to the gut, giving a face to the shadow that had haunted her. For 5 years, the architect of her destruction was just an idea. Now he was a real target for a rage that had been simmering for half a decade. "I have to see him," she demanded. Chen's face went rigid. "The defendants will be brought in one by one. You'll see them at the hearing." "No," she shot back. "I need a minute in a room with Thomas Reeves before that. It's critical that he knows who I am." "Miss Bennett, that's highly irregular." "I couldn't care less about procedure," she snapped. "These people murdered my parents, tried to murder me, and ripped my world apart. I've earned the right to look them in the eye before a judge decides their fate." Adrian stepped in. "Make it happen. 5 minutes, we will be with her. No touching." Chen weighed his options, then gave in. 5 minutes, but there is 0 contact, and you make no threats. The second his lawyer says a word, it's over." "Got it." Chen led them down a maze of sterile hallways to a secure block of holding cells, a guard posted at every door. He stopped at number 7. "He's inside, cuffed. His attorney is with him. Your 5 minutes start now." She pulled open the heavy door. Thomas Reeves was some guy in his 60s, silver hair, perfect suit, looking more like a CEO than a monster. The kind of guy who could order a hit over lunch and not get indigestion. As she walked in, his eyes met hers. They were cold, calculating, and had absolutely zero remorse. A purely businesslike assessment. "Arya Bennett," he said. His voice was smooth, like an Ivy League professor. "I was wondering when you'd finally show up." "You know who I am?" "Of course. The daughter of Helen and Robert Bennett. The rogue element that wouldn't go away. The one who pulled a single loose thread until the whole damn thing unraveled." The way he just casually dropped her parents' names set a fire off deep inside Arya. "You killed them." "I neutralized a liability. There is a difference." He leaned back, getting comfy like they were in a boardroom. "Your parents were looking at financial records. What they were finding was becoming a problem for my clients. I couldn't allow that to go public. So you murdered them." "I solved a problem. Cleanly and permanently, just like I've solved hundreds of others." A little smirk played on his lips. But they'd been smarter, they would have taken the warning and stopped digging. They chose not to, and there were consequences. Suddenly, Maya exploded, launching herself at him with a raw scream tearing out of her. Adrian caught her instantly. "You son of a—" "Easy," Adrian whispered. "This is the reaction he wants. Don't give it to him." Reeves watched the whole thing with mild interest, like a scientist watching rats. The younger sister, Maya, right? The college student. "You weren't at the funeral, I recall. Too busy with your campus life to notice your parents were gone." "Shut your mouth," Maya hissed. "Or you'll do what? Hit me? Please, go ahead. My lawyer would love to add harassment to the list and tank this entire case." Arya put herself between them, a human wall, her own fury now a cold, sharp weapon. Her voice, a low hum of absolute certainty, spelled out how empty his victory was. He'd cheated at a game only to realize he'd already lost everything that mattered. His entire network was in ashes, his money had evaporated. And pretty soon, a judge's gavel would sentence him to a lifetime of paying for it. He brushed her off like she was talking crazy, banking on legal tricks and thrown out evidence. He was already picturing himself free, leaving her as a target for whatever influence he had left. Even from a jail cell, he warned, his arms were still long, a whole network of favors and cash. This wasn't a threat, he said, just a simple fact about the world he thought he still ran. For 40 years, he'd built a kingdom, and he figured it was too big to fail over a few little legal problems. The organization, he bragged, would just grow new heads. In his mind, she was nothing, a cook who stumbled into a game way over her head. That cold smile was back, a mask of total superiority. And that's when Adrian showed him another fact. The room itself was a witness, and every word he said was being logged as evidence. His phone displayed the recording, a perfect mirror of the arrogance that had just signed his own conviction. For just a second, Reeves's smile flickered. He protested it was an illegal recording, totally inadmissible. "Perfectly legal," Adrian shot back. His rights had been read, and by choosing to run his mouth, he'd waived them. On top of that, as a victim of his non-stop intimidation, Miss Bennett had every right to document any direct threats. It's standard operating procedure. Reeves's lawyer jumped in to stop the meeting, a move that was way too late. The recording had it all. Him confirming his network, his ongoing threats, his guilt. Arya looked at the man who ordered her parents' execution and felt a cold, surgical calm. He was right. She was a chef, She didn't get a world where human lives were just another line on a balance sheet. But, she pointed out, there was one basic rule he totally missed. Everybody, sooner or later, pays their tab. The bill for what you do, she said, always comes. She turned, leaving him with one last thing to think about in his new cage. A place where every day would feel 1,000 hours long. Out in the hall, Maya was shaking with a raw need to get even. A feeling Arya admitted she shared, but he wasn't worth them trashing their own souls for 5 minutes of revenge. He feels no remorse, Maya said bitterly. Guys like him never do, Arya replied. That's just how monsters are built. Adrian's grim voice cut in, promising them his lack of a conscience wouldn't save him from the judge. They stepped into the courtroom, a space thick with the tension from media, other victims, and the cops. The defendants were marched in, one by one, their power suits swapped for the bright orange of a prison jumpsuit. Marcus Vance looked like a ghost of himself, a man completely broken. Daniel was near the end of the line, thinner, his face a wreck. When his eyes finally locked on Arya's, she saw it happen. The sickening, soul-crushing realization of how completely he had failed. Her look was a straight-up challenge, telling him the fear he put in her heart was officially evicted. This wasn't the broken woman he tossed aside. This was the wrecking ball that just flattened his entire empire. When they hauled Thomas Reeves in, his gangster swagger was a cheap mask for the pure terror of his new reality. The judge rolls in, and the charges start flying. Conspiracy to commit murder, money laundering, racketeering. The list just kept going. They all plead not guilty. And the judge was like, nope. Bail denied, flight risk status confirmed. As they got dragged away, Arya didn't even blink. Seeing the guys who wrecked her family in cuffs didn't bring some epic, fist-pumping victory. It was just the final period on a really messed-up story. Outside, a media mob was waiting. She walked straight into the storm, hitting the mics with a statement she had locked and loaded. She was Arya Bennett. 5 years back, her parents were taken out for sniffing out corruption. For 3 years, she believed justice was a fairy tale. She let that hang in the air. I was wrong. The people responsible were now cuffed and staring down a life sentence. She sliced through the reporters shouting with a voice like steel, "To anyone who's lost someone to violence, don't you dare give up." The truth, she promised, always claws its way out, and when it does, even the biggest empires turn to dust. Then she passed the mic to Agent Chen and vanished. Adrian was by the car, his face screaming how epic her speech was. It was all true, she said. Once they were moving, she needed to hit up Ember to get her hands dirty with some cooking. The kitchen was exactly how she left it. Her number 2, Sarah, just stared. "I know," she told her, "but I had to be here to do something real." Arya geared up in her chef whites, her own kind of armor. She asked what was on deck. "The new tasting menu for the reopening," Sarah told her. Perfect. For hours, Arya was completely lost in the kitchen's rhythm. The clean chop of the knife, the magic of heat and ingredients. This was the piece she'd been fighting for. Not payback, but the simple, sacred act of making something. The sun was going down when Maya found her, pointing out she'd been there for 6 hours. Arya looked up, shocked at how time had just evaporated. "I'm just glad you're here," Maya said, "doing this." She dipped a spoon into a sauce. "Miso caramel with black pepper," Arya explained, a recipe from her grandma that her mom had perfected. It was their Sunday thing, a ritual she hadn't touched since they were killed, the memory just too sharp. But as she stirred that dark, glossy liquid, she felt something shift. They took my parents, but they can't take the memories, the love she cooked with. Those things are still mine. Yeah, Maya whispered. They are. Arya plated the dish, drizzling the sauce like a work of art. She handed Maya a fork, who took a bite, and her eyes just closed. It tastes like home, she said. Like the world before it all shattered. That's what Ember is supposed to be, Arya said. A place that serves up memories and love. Adrian busted in, phone in his hand. The reservation system had totally imploded. After her speech, the demand for a table went through the roof. He showed her the screen. We are booked solid for the next 3 months, and we're not even open. That's insane, Arya breathed. He grinned. This is what winning looks like. People want a piece of your story, he said. And with food this insane, they'll keep coming. Sarah and the crew swarmed them. We need to talk hiring. If we're this slammed, we need more bodies. For the next 2 hours, they dove into logistics. Underneath the exhaustion, Arya felt something she hadn't felt in years. She was actually alive, not just a ghost going through the motions. Adrian drove her to his place. The safe house was officially retired. With the top dogs of the Titan organization caged, the immediate danger was gone. Adrian's penthouse was now her sanctuary, a spot where she could finally exhale. Maya was already there with takeout. Perfect, Arya said, collapsing on the couch, admitting she was too fried to even think about cooking again. They ate, no words needed. A soft notification pinged from Maya's phone. A slow grin spread across her face. The memorial fund just cleared $500,000. It's for grants to help little guys fight fraud. Our parents would have loved that. Yeah, they totally would have. Maya put her phone down, her vibe turning serious. How are you for real? After all this? I don't know, Arya admitted, pushing food around her plate. Ask me in a year. Right now, I'm just trying to process that this is real. The arrests, the trial. The fact that we actually won. We did win, right? I think so. But it doesn't feel like I thought it would. It's not like the movies. No big moment apiece. What's it feel like? It feels like I can breathe again. Like this massive weight I've been carrying is just gone. It feels like I can build a life now. Not just survive one. She looked right at her sister. Is that enough? Maya's whole face softened. I think that's everything. Adrian showed up, holding a bottle of wine. A toast to staying alive, to getting justice, and to whatever the hell comes next. The sound of glasses clinking sealed the deal. The wine was top shelf, a quiet celebration for a brutal victory and a fresh start. But what about you? The question was for Maya, asking how she puts her own life back together. The plan is Seattle, but not yet. She wanted to stick around, watch her sister crush this new beginning. Maya's smirk gave away another reason. Being related to a celebrity chef has its perks. A celebrity, Arya scoffed. But the covers of 3 magazines this week said otherwise. The media was all over her story, but to Arya, the fame was just background noise. The only thing that felt real was the need to cook. The mission was simple. Build something beautiful out of the wreckage, a monument to walking through hell and coming out a creator. The week before Ember's relaunch was a blur of hardcore prep and media hits her publicist swore were necessary. But mostly she was in the kitchen, turning family history into food. On opening night's eve, she stood alone in the dark dining room, a space that was a dream, then a disaster, and now hers again. That's where Adrian found her. Any second thoughts? No, she said. This is a moment you just have to feel, the deep quiet before the chaos. He told her, it's gonna be a spectacle. You know that, right? She only gave him one thing, I know the food will be good. For everything else, she just shrugged. We'll see. He pulled her into a hug, giving her a new angle. You already won, Arya. This is just the victory lap. Her comeback was sharp. Since when did you get so optimistic? His answer showed how much she'd changed him. Since I met someone who proved that fighting for the right thing can actually work sometimes. He kissed her forehead and gave an order. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's huge. But sleep wasn't happening. She was awake for hours, her mind replaying the whole dark journey that got her here. Around 3 a.m, she gave up, heading to the kitchen to start work in the pre-dawn quiet. Sarah found her there at 5. Couldn't sleep either, not a wink. Too much energy in the air. Need a hand? Always. In the silent kitchen, they moved like dancers, prepping for the show as the sun came up. By the time the rest of the crew arrived, everything was perfectly in place, ready for the storm. At 5 post-meridian, the doors swung open. The first person through was Jennifer Walsh from The Times, the critic who could make or break them. The room quickly filled with a low hum of anticipation. The first ticket printed, and Arya got to work. She slipped into a state of pure focus. A general commanding an army of fire and steel, making sure every plate was a statement. This was her real purpose, not fighting villains, but creating moments of beauty and connection with her craft. As the night hit its peak, Sarah slid up next to her with a report from Table 12. They were freaking out over the Korean short rib, saying it was so good it felt like a therapy session. The ticket machine spat out a new order. The full 6-course tasting menu. Arya's crew was a single perfect unit. Every plate was a story, every flavor was a memory. By the end of the night, she was a mess of exhaustion and flour, but inside her, a joy that had been dead for 5 years was blooming. Adrian and Maya were waiting with the champagne bottle at the ready. How'd we do? Arya asked. He just turned his phone to face her. On the screen was a flood of pictures and rave reviews. Jennifer Walsh had already dropped her first take. Ember is not a restaurant. It is a resurrection. Arya Bennett basically turned her pain into a weapon, and it's delicious. This isn't just food. It's a straight-up victory lap on a plate. She reread the review. Damn right they felt it. Her entire brand is weaponized emotion. Suddenly, Sarah rolls up with the whole squad. Boss, we do this thing. Toast to a perfect opening night. You down? Absolutely. So the whole crew gathers in the heart of the kitchen, the engine room of tonight's masterpiece. Arya lifts her glass. To the grind, to the code, and to proving that you can build an empire from the absolute ashes. Arya gives her crew a look that basically seals them as her ride or dies for life. They get into the victory celebration. Standing there, she feels that hit of pure, earned pride she buried under years of trauma. This ain't ego, it's a scoreboard check. After the team scatters, only Adrian and Maya are left. Maya is just mind blown by how big they won. Arya hits her with a soft "we," reminding her that her main job was holding down a bar stool. For moral support and a fat tip, Maya shoots back. The laughter felt like coming back to life. Then Adriana's phone pings and boom, the entire vibe of the room just shattered. Payday. The verdict on Marcus Vance was in. Arya's breath catches. This came down way faster than expected. He caved and took a plea deal. His lawyers saw the mountain of evidence and told him to just surrender. The deal meant admitting to every charge just to dodge the ultimate penalty. His sentence? Life in a box, no getting out ever. Thomas Reeves and most of the Titan bosses got the exact same deal. The message adds that Daniel's next, aiming for a 15 to 20-year vacation. The war was officially over. The guys who took her parents out are permanently off the board. Daniel's about to lose it all. His freedom, his rep, his whole damn life. And Arya, she just got her kingdom, her name, and her life back in one epic move. Maya's voice is just a whisper. How are you? Arya admits she's wiped, relieved, but also feeling the heavy price of this win. She looks around the room, grateful they all made it through and didn't back down. Adrian raises his glass, toasting to the fact they survived. Arya locks eyes with him, correcting it to more than survived, a total power-up moment for her. To living large, building something real, and to keeping the faith when it was totally hopeless. They drink, sealing the deal. The next few weeks are a blur of wins. Ember becomes the hottest ticket in town, drowning in 5-star reviews. Other chefs eat there and leave totally fired up. Arya beefs up her crew, tweaks the menu, and starts plotting a second location. But her real throne is at the stove, turning her dark past into pure art. Maya bounces back to Seattle, but is on a plane every month. A permanent resident at the chef's counter, always letting Arya call the shots. Adriana's own empire is blowing up, but he never misses their family dinners at Ember. The way he looks at Arya is pure, uncut respect. You could say they were both putting themselves back together. Two people forged in fire, proving that you don't erase the past. You build a fortress out of the rubble. Half a year post-launch. Arya's at her parents' graves. She leaves flowers, a menu from Ember, and a letter detailing the entire takedown. We did it, she says quietly. Every last one of them is paying the price. Your intel started all of this. The files you put together kicked off the whole damn war. The wind is the only thing that answers. I'm solid now. I've got my work, my crew, and a partner who sees all my broken pieces and doesn't flinch. A smile cuts through the tears. You'd like Adrian. He's a calculating savage operator, but he's got this weird, focused empathy. He helped me find the girl I was before all hell broke loose. She puts the menu on her mom's grave. This came from your recipes, your skills, your obsession with food. Every plate I make is a piece of you. You're baked into every single flavor profile. Anyone who eats at Ember gets a taste of your legacy. A hand on her shoulder, it's Adrian. He'd been giving her a minute, just chilling by the car. Are you ready? He asks. Yeah, I think I am. They head for the ride together. Arya takes one last look back. For 5 years, their deaths had been her whole identity, a crushing weight on her soul. But right then, it all clicked. It wasn't their deaths that made her. It was their lives. The code they taught her, their love, their absolute refusal to back down. That was the real inheritance. What they left her wasn't sadness or fury, but a simple, unbreakable rule. Good people have to fight for what's right, no matter what it costs. She finished their fight and built a world they would have respected. The idea lands, and it feels like the last page of a long, brutal book finally turning. Back at Ember, dinner service is hitting its climax. A packed house, a kitchen running on organized chaos, everything in sync. Sarah barks orders, the cooks answer back as one. A perfectly tuned engine of war. Arya ties her apron, stepping into the fray. This is her turf. These are her soldiers. Her whole purpose right here. Heard? She says, and gets to work. She's not cooking for revenge or justice or even for them anymore. She's doing it for the love of the game. She found this weird kind of power in making things, in building these little perfect moments for other people. This was her world now, not defined by her losses, but by what she created. Pure grit, a killer mission, and the straight-up refusal to be broken. This whole journey started with her as a shattered side character, avoiding her own story. Now she was the main character who walked through fire and came out whole. She built this new life from the wreckage, proving that when a soul breaks, it's not the end, it's a brutal, awesome beginning. Adrian shows up at the kitchen door. He just watches her, and you can practically feel the pride coming off him in waves. When things quiet down, she walks over. "What's up?" "Nothing. Just admiring what you built." "Our creation," she corrects him. "We're partners, you recall?" "Equal partners," he agrees. "Although this kingdom is all you. I just handle the numbers and the supply lines. The boring but necessary stuff." He pulls her into a hug, not caring about the kitchen grime on her uniform. "I'm proud of you. I hope you know that. You might have mentioned it. I plan on saying it again. Every single day, if you let me." She gives him a quick, warm kiss. "Now get out of my kitchen. I've got a service to command." "Yes, chef," he says with a grin, and vanishes. Arya goes back to her station, back to the controlled chaos that made her feel complete. Every plate sent out was a masterpiece. Every customer left a little bit changed. After the last bill was settled, Sarah starts the shutdown sequence. The crew starts breaking down and prepping for tomorrow's battle. Arya stands in the middle of it, taking it all in. This was her life's blueprint now, this place, these people, this job she loved. Not to spite her past, but because of it. She was torn apart by dudes who thought she was a nobody. From those shattered pieces, she built something legendary. She proved that being tough isn't just about not dying. It's choosing to thrive, to find happiness after the pain, and to bet on a better future. That was the real win. The victory wasn't the court cases, the guilty sentences, or the idea of justice she'd been chasing. It was this right here, standing in her own kitchen, making something that mattered, backed by a crew who believed in her, living a life with a point. She pulls out her phone and shoots a text to Maya. "Love you. Thanks for never doubting me." The response is instant. "Always. You're my problem for life." Another text comes in from Adrian. "Dinner at my apartment tomorrow. I'm cooking." She grins. "Your culinary skills are dreadful. They are adequate." "You said so yourself." "Fine, but I am bringing the wine." "Agreed." She puts her phone away and finishes her work. Tomorrow, the whole grind would start all over again. The grind continues tomorrow, building your empire one perfect plate at a time. But for now, she's finally taking a breath. That crushing weight she carried for years is finally lifting. Her whole future, once laser-focused on payback, is now a wide-open map. And those guys who tried to wipe her off the face of the earth, they're learning about consequences in a concrete box. But our girl is out here, free, on top, and protected by her chosen family. That's a type of justice too, you know? Not the clean storybook kind, but the messy, brutal kind you fight for. And it is all hers. She paid in blood, sweat, and tears for this moment, refusing to fold when it was the only smart move. And now, it's time to collect. She can finally build a life that celebrates her parents, not just a cold memorial to their grim exit. She can finally be with a man who actually gets the story written in her scars. She gets to make food that's pure comfort, a reminder that life is meant to be enjoyed. This is what she leaves behind. Not a story of revenge and fire, but one of hope and comfort. It's a massive statement that good people have a right to a good life. She proved it to herself through absolute agony by just refusing to shatter. Now, she just has to live it. That's enough. That's everything. So Arya Bennett walks right back into the city, standing tall, with this deep, unshakable peace settling in her bones, totally ready for what's next. Let's be real, she's already faced the absolute worst a person can go through and came out swinging. The only thing left on her to-do list is the simple, epic mission of just living,